All right, guys, we are live. Welcome to Tone Talk. Mark Uzansky and Dave Friedman. How's it going? We've got Joe Morgan from Morgan Amps. Dave,
hey guys.
Joe, how are you?
Peachy keen.
We're
Oh,
good.
look at that.
We're
I'm
good.
dropping stuff left and right here.
He's dropping his phone.
I am dropping my phone.
All right.
That's
So thanks for joining us,
right.
Joe.
Oh, my pleasure. Interrupting my game time, but whatever.
That's what I was saying. I know. Well, and what were you playing? What game were you playing just now?
It's called The Division. I was blessed enough that game's been out for a little more than a year, and I've got a couple of minutes in it. So they invited me to come to the studios in England to play the next year's content. So they flew me out to Newcastle and put me up for a week, and I got to play a bunch of the new stuff that's coming for the game. So I was pretty excited about that. So that's the geek in me, my 14-year-old self, being able to live vicariously through myself, which is great.
That is cool. That's something completely outside of music.
Yeah, and there's a lot of math in this game, which is one of the things that like kind of drew me to it. I like to solve puzzles, and so it scratched an itch for me that guitar amps used to, where that used to be my hobby and used to be the thing that would occupy my brain time.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's all about killing people.
You mean in the game, right? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. So, Dave, how's your week going?
It doesn't seem like it was here.
Flew by.
We had just gotten back from our trip to Sweetwater, kind of last week.
God, it
and that just
like
raced,
that, doesn't it?
That just raced right by. It was that just raced right by, and then you had the 4th, and that kind of got in the way, and then I went to test amps on Wednesday, and then I was there again today. So my week is pretty much no work done.
Oh, I don't know. Testing amps is work.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I get you.
I had to test some extra amps, so since we'll be gone next week at Summer NAMM, so.
Yeah, when are you leaving? You're leaving Tuesday, you said?
I'm leaving Saturday.
Oh wow!
I'm going, but I'm going the long way. I'm flying into Detroit for a couple days. I'm picking up Dave Black, and then we're driving down.
Oh, nice.
So I'm taking an 8-hour road journey through Kentucky.
Kentucky's cool because you got the Bourbon Trail. You can, if you time it right, you can go to like Maker's Mark and do the tour.
Oh, that would be cool.
And pick up some supplies for NAMM.
Yeah, maybe not.
Okay, that could be dangerous.
What are you afraid of?
Yeah, no.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Mr.
Mark.
Friedman.
You're in trouble.
I heard. Well, that's why I'm in training right now.
Oh, that's awesome.
You're in trouble. And my advice to you is don't go out with Joe and I.
Yeah, that's probably really good advice.
Probably a wise decision not to do that, but
well, I don't want to get sick.
There's lots of stuff going on though at NAMM this year. We're going to have our own little concert jam event on Friday night.
Yeah, that place looks cool. Soul Shine, it's called?
Soul Shine.
Oh yeah, right on.
And Kenny Olson
right up in Midtown.
I have no idea where it is. You would know better than I do.
They've got a few places I saw online. There was one in Nashville. There was one in Franklin. But
Kenny Olson does a normal.
That's cool.
Kenny Olson does a normal jam there every Sunday night, where he always gets out a bunch of kind of Nashville elite and people that have moved there and all sorts of people. So we just moved his event to Friday and made it a Friedman event, and I have no idea who's going to be there yet.
I'll be fine. It'll be a good time.
Yeah. So,
well, if you need a drummer, I won't get on guitar, but if you need a drummer, I'll jump on. I'm sure they have a house band though, right?
Yeah, Kenny's got his house band, but lots of people are going to sit in. I mean, like sometimes, I'm not saying that this is who's going to be there, but Kenny gets guys like, Brad Whitford down and nice. All sorts of people. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
There's a lot of people down there for NAMM.
Yeah.
So that's for sure.
That's good. And then there's another event that Todd Sharp is putting on Saturday night after NAMM. That looks interesting. Todd's an amazing player. Todd.
Yeah, Todd. I love his amps, man. Todd makes good stuff.
Yeah,
and he's the only repair shop in Nashville that I trust. So,
what amps?
He's one of the only repair shops in Nashville.
You would think that, but I can give you half a dozen more that you shouldn't take your amp to.
So you hear that, everyone? Take your amp only to Todd Sharp.
Nashville Amp Repair.
Nashville Amp Repair.
Yep, he's the man. He's got good guys working for him, and they're reasonably priced, and there's just you don't end up with crazy mods to your stuff after the fact. It's like, no, dude, the tube was just bad. No, it's okay. I put a lot more gain in it for you.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Fix that clean channel. I think roars now.
Well, speaking of amps, you want to tell us about your amps, Joe?
Sure. What do you want to know?
Well, I was looking at your website, and I see you have a lot of them. You have a lot of different amps. I was wondering if maybe you want to take us through like the different line of amps, and I see you also have pedals. So I'm curious.
Yeah, I got some pedals. The big thing with me in guitar amps, where I came from as a player, I gravitated to the vintage stuff that was single channel. I was a pedal board guy, and that's where I gravitated towards as a builder then too, because that's the stuff I was only building for me. I wasn't planning on starting an amp company. It just kind of got out of hand. But when I wanted just like a good normal channel of an AC30, nobody was doing it. Everybody was doing even Vox was making improved versions and that were extra bright caps and a lot of other stuff on the amps. Even when they made their flagship in the 90s with Tony Bruno, that thing had reverb and a master volume. And if they understood their customer base, which at that time was me, I was a 40-something with disposable income, I'm the guy that's going to be able to spend $4,500, $5,000 on a fancy pants, hand-wired Vox head. But I'm not going to buy one that's got reverb and a master volume on it because that's just silly. But they also added extra bright caps and all kinds of other stuff that just made the amp sound really cool when you're playing it in the store. But when you have to use it at a gig, it just made it fussy with overdrive pedals and so that's really why I started building. So for me, I'm a single channel guy. I don't do what Dave does. I don't do the channel switcher. It's just not who I am. And I really don't do that high gain Marshall thing either. I think that it's, I could go buy a Friedman if I wanted that. So there's no point in me, occupying that space. But what I tried to excel at is making the best possible tone that I could make with my single channel amps. And the guys that gravitate to that are guys that are players like me, guys that are pedal board guys, tons of Nashville cats, pro guys that, almost all of country music uses my stuff. But those are the types of players that really kind of gravitate toward my product. Now, as far as my amp line goes, bunch of different amps, but they're really only about 3 flavors. One is that, that old school Vox AC style tone that I have with the ACs. The other is a high headroom Fender style tone that was really has its roots in like the early 70s modified Humble would produce. Not so much the overdrive special with all of the compression and the just that Robin Ford kind of thing, but more like what would later become Steel String Singer, something that it's just big, round, clean, high headroom, definitely more headroom than Fender would have had on the same type of circuit back at that time. And then I do kind of a cross between the two, and that's where I take a Fender style front end and I tie it together with like a old Gibson or a Fox style back end, where cathode bias class A, where you get all those even order harmonics and it's just chimey and great. So that's really like that's my ACs, my SWs, and my RCAs, and that's the bulk. That's the meat of everything that I do now, and that's kind of where that family fits. I try to explain to people with guitar amps today. Everybody's using predominantly 12AX7s, right? 12AX7 is a 12AX7 is a 12AX7. 12AX7s is chicken. So, we're all cooking with chicken, but what happens on the back end of the amplifier is going to determine whether it's fried, barbecued, or curry. And that's where, like, the power section with EL84s and, just in that classic Vox configuration with the right phase inverter, that's what makes that chicken taste like curry. When the Marshall with its EL34s and its phase inverter and its presence and the amount of negative feedback that it has, I mean, that's what makes Marshall and Fender with the 6L6, 6V6. So one of the reasons I don't do channel switchers is that I think Dave's got it right, where you could really switch between levels of gain. But the guy that asked me for, the Fender Clean, the Marshall Crunch, and a Bogner Overdrive channel, I mean, it's just, those are different animals that behave different ways, and they really can't exist in the same unit.
Right. Yeah, the power section is the same, so you can't change that part about it. You can change the preamp. Yes, it could be a blackface preamp, but the power section is still a Marshall.
Yeah,
so
regardless
EL34, so it's not a Fender.
Yeah, so whatever you put on the chicken, you're still gonna put it in a deep fryer or barbecue it, right? It's like I can put some turmeric on it in the front end, but I'm not getting curry out the back if I'm gonna put in a bunch of barbecue sauce. So anyway.
Now I'm getting hungry.
I know, right?
But no, that's a great way of describing it, though. In terms of, especially when you're looking at the 12AX7 kind of platform from that preamp perspective.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do with it. I mean, guitar amp is a real simple device predominantly. So I mean, it's not rocket science. 12AX7's got a plate and a cathode and a screen. It actually has two sets of those. There's two gain stages in each 12AX7. And all we're doing is we're manipulating that screen and we're creating that sine wave. And when we do that, we're the voltage differential between the plate and the cathode we're modulating that voltage. That's what makes it actually bigger. So then when we go from stage to stage, because DC only goes one way, so just like push a speaker out or in, we need to decouple that, right? So the coupling caps that go from stage to stage, what their main job is to take that DC signal, say if it's 200 volts, to remove the DC 200 on the other side of it, so it just passes the larger signal. And then what we make the capacitors out of, if you think of a capacitor like a swimming pool, where it's a blocked DC, DC can't swim, but AC can swim through the water. So the size of the pool will determine the frequency, and then what we fill it with will also affect how we can swim through that. So like a silver mica is going to sound different than a polypropylene, which is going to sound different than a mylar, which is going to, and all of those things affect tone.
And then it's the whole ingredients of making that.
Yeah. So just if you don't use crap, if you put good in, you can get good out provided that you're paying attention to what's happening all the way down, and you have a good set of ears. Because I know guys that are super smart that make some amps that sound so bad, just absolutely broken. You know, but they're geniuses, but they couldn't build an amp to save their life because they can't hear it. And I think, you know, definitely for like Dave, I think they're honestly, I think they're just probably a handful of builders that I really trust, like understand what a really good guitar tone is. You know, Todd Sharp's one, Dave's one.
Oh yeah,
yeah, Dave.
Yeah,
you definitely have the ear as well, Dave. Because like I've had EL84 bass amps before, and they've never sounded like the Runt 20 that I have. You know,
right?
So it's definitely there's something with the ears being able to shape that as well. So when you were describing that, Joe, it kind of hit a nerve with me because, you know, especially with an EL84 based amp, which is like a Vox, typically a Vox circuit, or you would think of,
right?
You know, and
go ahead,
Dave.
Yeah. Here's how I look at it, kind of. So making an amplifier is sort of like mixing a record. You have you have all the ingredients or tracks, right, in front of you, and you give it to 5 mixers, and you're going to get 5 different songs or 5 different sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Some bad, some good, some just different shades of good or different stylistically. But y'all started with the same components, basically.
Right.
But there's some guys that couldn't mix those tracks to save their life and make it sound good.
Right.
And then there's other people that can, you know. And it's just basically what Joe was saying. It's like it's and it all really comes down to the ears and how in tune they are with what they want to hear, and do their ears really tell them the truth of what they're hearing too. Like I sometimes think some people's ears maybe hear things different than there's some abnormal ears. Like they'll say it's trebly, and you're like looking at it going, it's dark. Right. Or vice versa, you know, or and I guess there is no right or wrong, but yeah, well, just there's some people's hands too that can't make the good guitar amp sound good to save their life either. Right. I mean, I've literally, yeah, especially like amps like yours, non-master volume, you know, style amps. Man, those are brutally honest with the hands that plug into them, and it's all about it's not about even if they can play the notes. It's about how they attack the guitar with their right hand. I find more so than anything else. It's hard to even define. But
you hear it though, right? It's like,
oh yeah, like literally, like they'll come in and play through, like, say, a Plexi style Marshall or something, and one guy plays through it, and you're just like, wow, that's the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life. And then another guy comes in, and you're looking at the amp.
Holy crap!
Did the amp break? Did the amp break?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
And as dumb as that sounds, it's literally that bad. It's literally like night and day. Like the difference between, wow, this is the greatest steak in the world, and oh my God, you're feeding me, you know, regurgitated dog food. I mean, it's like, it's not like subtle, like, yeah, you know, it doesn't sound as good with this guy. I mean, it sounds broken with some people. It just sounds, it's like, I don't know how they do it. I just don't get it. If it's,
I'm not sure either.
But some people
it does happen.
Just shouldn't play, you know?
Now, certainly, I hope I don't fall into that category, but I think it's just there happens to be that the way that they attack the strings. Okay, you know, no, I mean it's certain.
I mean, no, it's totally okay because the world needs drummers.
That's true.
Sorry, that was just an easy drummer joke.
I'm a drummer, also, by the way.
Yeah, that's why I made the joke.
Oh, okay. Oh man. So yeah, I I wish I was one of those guys that can plug into a super loud plexi and be able to control it. It's
yeah, and then there's that. That's another thing. It's about. I remember there was once a tech that Steve Stevens was trying out, and he wasn't really a tech. He was a guitar player, and I'm like, "Are you sure you want to use him? You know, he's not really a guitar tech." He goes, "No, he'll be fine. He'll be fine." And man, well, anyway, it wasn't fine in the end. But when he would plug into his rig, it's just like it would just be like, like feedback everywhere because it's really loud. You know, it's really 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 loud.
And the guy has no way to control it.
Doesn't know how to Well, there's a lot of players these days that haven't. There's a the fundamental problem with what's been going on with guitar and people playing modelers and people playing their computers and this and that. It's that they have no idea at all how to control an amplifier at stage volume on stage.
Right.
No idea at all. And it is a crazy. I think it's a real issue, actually.
I think it's funny because it's like, your guitar comes with a volume control, right?
Doesn't have to be full all the time.
You can use it. When you stop playing, roll it off.
Yeah, all the best players, and I'm sure Dave would agree with this too, is that the guys that the best players that I've met are guys that they're painting all the time with that volume control. They're
like
if
Landau.
They're full up, Landau, even Josh Smith was at the shop the other day. Oh, you weren't there. Grover was.
No. Yeah.
He played through one of the new Strats. Josh freaking loved that guitar. He played through it for an hour.
Oh, good. Did it sound good?
Yeah, he was like, he
must
loved
have
the
sounded
pickups. Good. Yeah, Josh was a picky dude too. So yeah, that was.
That's good. Good.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to Grover about it. The funny part is he and Grover met when he was 16. Josh and who's the slide cat? Derek Trucks were friends from Florida, and they were working out some kind of Washburn deal, and they flew him up to Chicago to the Washburn place, and met Grover, and Grover built him a guitar, and so it was fun seeing those guys reminisce about the good old days now that they're both old as dirt. Actually, I don't think Josh is that old. Not like me. I'm an old man.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to jump in the chat and just say hi to some folks.
Oh, there are people here?
Yeah, we've got a few people watching. Over 20 right now.
Sweet. Is my mom in there?
I didn't see a Mrs. Morgan.
No, she'd be Elizabeth Berry, but that's okay.
Let me see. Okay, well, I'll go through it. So we got T-Bone. How's it going, man? Adam EVH, Sinner, Danny Cummings, Charlie S. Oh, which reminds me, Dave, we've got a question from Tim Pierce for you. But a different Tim Pierce, not the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not the Tim Pierce.
I'm like, wow,
the other Tim Pierce.
Yes, a viewer of the show, Tim Pierce, not the guitarist extraordinaire and guru
Tim's
guy.
A beast too.
Yeah, I've been watching some of his videos. He's really he has some cool
and
videos.
Funny.
Yeah, that dry humor. He's funny. He is.
I like Tim.
Well, he's also with the Tim and Pete show, right? Pete does the show.
Yeah.
So we got Tim Pierce. He says hello, Mark, Dave, and Joe.
Hola, ¿cómo está? Bien.
And let's see who else we got here. We got Friedman Amplification saying hi. Matthias Azevedo.
I'm here.
Oh, there you go. BE100 and AC Deluxe 20 are the best amps on the market, he says.
Wow.
Thank you.
Your check's in the mail.
Sinner says, I played a BE today and a Metroplex. Amazing amps. Yes. As a matter of fact, I just got a Metroplex. George's amp is really great. Sounds awesome.
That guy's crazy. He scares me.
Hey, George is going to be in Nashville. You guys could go.
That's not
good. We all could go drinking together.
That just seems like a recipe for bad.
Yeah, it is.
Now, I have not hung out with him. I know he makes good amps, but he's crazy. Can you elaborate?
Oh, no. George he's a sweetheart. He is mild-mannered, even-keeled, not funny at all.
Unfortunately, we'll probably just as much as you can, Joe.
You can. Yeah, that's just not a good combination.
Problem. We could throw, Reinhold Bogner into the mix and really get crazy.
Oh no! Oh no! That's a whole other level.
Yeah, there you go. That's a whole other description.
That's a whole other level. Yep.
That's a whole nother decade. And you know what? I gave up on the 80s a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm still trying to live it a little bit.
No Miami Vice for me.
Hey,
only in the sense of recreational pharmaceuticals are no longer a.
I see.
Yes, I'm not saying that there's any partaking of that happening with any of the amp manufacturers that we have talked about, Wagner, but you never know.
You never know. You never know. It's possible.
Especially with somebody who wears feathers in their hair.
Some stuff some stuff's legal in California, though.
Oh yeah, we're good here.
Exactly.
What do you need?
I'll talk to you after the show.
Okay, good. Yeah, I got a
guy. Tim Pierce says, "Wow, Joe Morgan, that was an awesome description."
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, so I think he was talking about your, the description of your different amps. And then there was a question about what we were drinking. So I just had written, Dave, you're drinking Scotch, but do you want to say
Belvini Scotch?
Okay.
Belvini, the same one we were doing on the George Metropolis show that we did. The bottle is still here. The same bottle is still here from that show. I haven't had any since.
Oh wow.
That's how much of it I drank.
That's a lot.
It was like it's like 3/4 of a bottle, and that was done.
And then, do you still have the bottle from the tequila too? From
Oh no, that got finished off that night.
That was done. Okay.
That was done. Well, yeah, but other people were drinking it also.
Right. Exactly. But still,
unfortunately, on that show, I made the grave error of starting drinking without eating anything all day at all.
Oh, that must have been a great show.
Yeah, and then also have great tequila mixed with Duval beer, which is about 8.5%.
I've never had that,
and that's like Belgian. Not a good. It's a great Belgian, but it's 8.5%. So
yeah, it's
you drink a little.
You drink a little 4-pack. That with tequila.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So we were drinking that, and on an empty stomach. So that wasn't good. So sorry if I was not speaking by the end of it, but
I think people enjoyed it.
It's fine. Fine to watch people fall down the stairs.
It's like
it's true.
It's like drunk history.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm human. Sorry.
If you put the video
have you watched that show?
Forward.
Have I watched back?
No. Have you watched Drunk History?
No.
It's on Comedy Central.
Oh, I know about it.
They take historians and they get them just shitty drunk, and then have them tell historical stories, about obscure things that things you wouldn't think about, and it's the greatest half hour on television.
That's funny. You know what? You ever Sorry, go ahead.
They have famous actors reenact the scenes of the historical scenes using the dialogue of the drunk person. So they just lip sync to the drunk person's dialogue, and
that sounds about as good as tractor
it's beyond
racing.
Great.
That's funny.
Oh man, you know, if we move to Nashville, I'm going to start working on my tractor.
Tractor racing? You gonna do some tractor racing?
Absolutely. You bet.
I remember one time I go with a friend of mine to a bar. This is years ago, and we're just gonna go have a beer at this bar down the street. We go in, we sit down at the bar, and the bar's empty. You know, we're just having a drink, and I look up on the TV behind the bar, and it's tractor racing.
Dude,
hopped up, souped up tractors with little number plates on the front of them, and they're racing around a dirt track. And I'm like looking at this going, I look at him and I go, this is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, look that up and what
or
they're
the dumbest,
doing to these tractors. These
are,
are
yeah.
You know, 1,000 horsepower, like, dude, it's so dumb and scary. You're basically strapping an engine to your legs, you know. Yeah, I probably would be tractor racing. But I would go to a tractor race in a heartbeat.
Check it out.
Yeah, I want to do a lot of southern things. Tractor racing.
Well, you probably have to I think you have
tobacco.
to have beer while you're at the tractor race.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, PBR. Baby.
I think that's a prerequisite. That PBR might be the beer of choice at the tractor race.
Hey, speaking of a beer.
Yeah, I don't think you get a choice.
I'm going to grab another one. I'll be right back. You guys hold it. Just going to get another Heineken.
What's Heineken? Is that some kind of fancy imported thing?
Yeah. I know. In the green bottle. I don't even know what color it is. I could be drinking. Hang on one second. I'll be right back.
Yeah. We'll wait here. Now that he's gone, we can talk about him.
Oh, let's see. I was looking in this chat, but the chat isn't loading very well for me. So someone asked a question. I don't know.
You don't know when you leave?
We're leaving on the red eye. So we're flying first class. No, on Saturday. Saturday night.
So Sunday
flying
morning.
First class. Well, yeah, starting at 10:30 we leave, and I'll be arriving in Detroit at 6 a.m.
Oh, jeez, dude. Is there a layover in that? No,
it's nonstop, 4 hours. Boom.
Yeah.
And then we'll go to bed in the hotel for a while, and then get up, and I have plans.
You're taking your wife with you, right?
Yeah, my wife's going. Yeah, my wife's going to NAMM. She's our social media girl, and
does a great job at that.
And she will be social mediating from NAMM. Mediating. Yeah, I can't talk, but yeah. Mediating.
Who's social media? Dina. Oh, she's going to be there?
Dina. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, she's going to be at the show.
Very good.
Yeah, well, she had to go because, see, we have good friends that live in Nashville, and we've been threatening to come see them for the last 7 years. And, wait, I think she went once in that 7 years, and I've never gone in that 7 years. So, so she's got a friend down there, and they're going to hang out. So,
what part of Nash? You know,
I have no idea. You know what? I don't really know.
Yeah, this is my first time really hanging out there.
Guys don't really ask those things, you know.
Oh, just because I have a daughter that lives in East Nashville, so.
Oh.
So
yeah.
I kind of know my way around town now.
That's so funny that you said that, Dave. Guys don't ask that. My wife always asks me questions.
Wait, have you ever had your wife ask you? I go, oh, so how's whatever your friend Jim? Let's say. How's Jim's new baby?
I have no idea.
I don't know. You didn't ask him? You didn't ask him? No, didn't think about it. Well, what do you guys talk about? That's a good question.
That's a good question. I'm like,
not much.
I don't remember people. Like, I can't, like, I could have a 10-hour conversation with somebody, you know, over a course of 2 days, share 3 meals with them, and not recall a damn thing. But if I saw that same person playing guitar on stage for 10 minutes, I could tell you, oh, that's the guy that played that old Fender with the Gower. Oh yeah, he had.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
I'm really bad too. Like, I go walk into a
people by their
room.
gear.
Walk into a room for a party or something. Someone's having a party, and everyone, 5 people in front of you, they introduce themselves, and then I just stand there and look at them. I go, "Let me tell you guys, I'm going to forget your name, in the next minute. I might have already forgotten your name, and you're going to have to remind me.
Let's be honest.
So don't feel bad about it." I was just straight up honest. Eventually, I get it. If I interact with them for a while, I'm like, "Oh yeah," and blah blah blah. But it
takes me about 4 or 5 years, and then like with
it depends on who it is, though.
I think I called the kids until they were 3 or 4.
I think it depends on how much time you spend with them, and how much of a interesting personality they might have or not have on whether you remember who they are.
Mm-hmm.
So.
That's true.
Yeah.
What about when you go to these shows and you're meeting like 1,000?
Oh, forget it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, I remember every single one of them. Hey, Joe, this is Kyle. I met you last year at NAMM.
You remember me?
Yeah, we talked a lot about your amps. So.
Yeah, I remember you.
Yeah. For the most part.
Yeah,
I get those calls every once in a while.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Hey, it's me, I was recently, someone was, speaking of that, people not remembering things. Recently, someone emailed me, and they were asking about my friend Dave Black, right? Because I used to talk to Dave a long time ago, and he recommended these amps and this and that to me back in blah, 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 blah. And we talked a lot, and I lost touch with him over the years. And I'm like, oh, that's great. Okay, well, I'll tell Dave you said hi. Dave's like, who?
Yeah, and that's the funny thing.
And then I tell him a little bit, and he's like, well, if he knew that much, then it must have been talking to him for a while, but God, I don't remember.
I just got handed a drink.
Oh, nice.
Oh, there you go.
Moscow Mule for the win.
What is it?
There you go.
Moscow Mule is
what is that?
Vodka and ginger beer, a little mint.
There you go. You're joining in the fun
on a hot day. Yeah, and it's not to say like just because I don't remember the conversations, I thoroughly enjoy the conversations, like meeting people and having the conversations, and somebody who's passionate about it and has questions, and like I could talk for days on it. So it's not that I don't love it and I don't like talking to people. It's just
it's hard to remember everybody.
I just can't remember very well.
Yeah. No, you had the conversation, and same with me. I was just like, I had the conversation. I enjoyed talking to you. I appreciate you bought my amp. That's fantastic. Although I might not remember you because it was the first time we met, but if we met 5 more times, I'd remember you.
Right.
And buy 5 more amps.
Exactly. There you go. Well, that's funny.
If you buy 5 amps, I actually will remember you probably.
At Sweetwater,
I'll be like, he's the guy with 5 amps.
I have a guy that he bought an amp. I've been going to Sweetwater for their Gear Fest thing the last 3 years. And each year this guy has come in and he's bought an amp. And he comes in with his wife. They're super sweet people. And I think he did. It's like a 3-hour drive in. He bought another one this year. It was like,
that's cool.
It is kind of fun, So next year when I'm at Sweetwater, if I don't see him, I'm going to be really disappointed. I better come up with a new amp.
You know what we're gonna pack? You know what we're gonna pack next year in our boxes for Sweetwater?
Nothing.
Umbrellas.
Oh yeah.
Did it rain again this year?
A large umbrella.
Yeah, it was.
Did it rain? Did it rain?
A deluge.
Yeah, the first day
we had a river.
The first day it rained. When we were getting there, it was basically pouring. Had to park the car across the street at the vendor parking lot, where they have buses that bring you over But the problem is you park your car in the lot, and then you have to go to the bus, which is across the parking lot where your car is, in a downpour. So by the time I got to the bus, I took a shower in my clothes.
Oh,
and then they drop you off where the tents are. Then you drop you off where the tents are, and then you have to go to your tent, which is another, I don't know, 20 yards or something, in the downpour.
But the water's coming down like a Texas flood. It's just like a sheet of water.
So literally, I was just pulling my shirt off my chest and just like, it's like it's like you jumped in your pool, Mark, clothed.
Oh. Or I thought he looked like Jennifer Beal from Flashdance.
That's frightening. Stop.
He's a maniac.
Oh, no.
And it shows.
That's funny.
That song couldn't be more true.
So I'll put this out there. Speaking of what you just brought up like that. So Alex at the office, right? We got a new guitar order together for Grover, and we added some extra ones on there. Kind of went for a really large order from him for our kind of stock guitars, and that's all good. And Grover was expecting a certain amount, but we kind of added an extra $10,000 to it, And he texts Alex. He goes, "Man, I don't know whether to go out and get drunk. I'm so excited. I don't know whether to go out and get drunk or masturbate." And Alex tells me this, and Alex tells me this, and we're just thinking to ourselves, the mental picture has now just blown our brains up.
TMI, baby. TMI.
So we're just like, wow.
Yeah. Don't tell me that.
Just like the mental issue. Oh God, yeah. Anyway.
So did Alex file a sexual harassment suit, or how's that playing out?
No. Alex thought it was amusing.
I like Alex. Alex, we've needed an Alex for a couple of years. It's nice having him there.
Alex is now in charge of our whole. Avi has now made him in charge of our whole guitar department.
He just
entirely.
Butt,
it's his. It's his entire thing now. So, which is fantastic. That's great. So.
I don't know. I think you should let Avi run it some more.
Yeah, because he has so much time. Considering he
has nothing else on his plate, right?
Yeah, considering he doesn't have enough businesses or things on his plate to do. Yeah.
All he needs is just one more thing.
Yeah.
So who's this Alex person we're talking about? Where's he work?
Alex works at Boutique Amps Distribution with all of us, and he does a great job there. And I've bought him a nice bottle of tequila to show my appreciation.
Sweet. I'll have to. What kind of tequila did you get him?
Fortaleza.
I got to go over to his house. Good stuff.
You're like, you have to go over his house, or you have to go to his house now?
Well, it depends. I got to first find out if he's gone through it yet. And then I'll make the decision.
Yeah, right.
Alex plays the video game,
Oh, I see.
Alex and Todd both. I got them both hooked.
Oh, they're on the same game?
Yeah.
Do you guys play online? Is it like an online thing too?
Online late at night, talking to each other, laughing about the work, shooting people.
That's
cool. It's a good life, really. Yeah, it's fun.
It's pretty cool.
I have to remind myself that I'm a grown man every once in a while.
So, Joe.
Yeah.
How did you make the mistake of getting in the amp business?
That's a great question, Dave. I'm glad you asked. Okay, so I played hardcore punk rock in the early 80s, and then in a band in Minnesota, right? And the band I was in, we got a record deal, and we were on Husker Du's record label, and all well and fine and cool. And we got to play with a lot of really cool bands from that era. And people like Black Flag and Minor Threat and DOA and Bad Brains, and just got to play with a ton of really killer punk rock acts from the early 80s. Hanging out in Minneapolis at the time was when the Replacements had just taken off. It was just a really cool time to be in Minneapolis. So I moved to California to be an electrical engineer at Rockwell International on the first set of GPS satellites. And I stopped playing guitar for about 10 years. And it wasn't until I was at a Bible study and I picked up a guitar and started playing it. Somebody said, "Oh, hey, you can play guitar. You should play on our worship team." And I'm like, "Okay." So I thought, that sounds like fun. Started playing guitar again. I had young kids. And I ended up buying a Kirk Hammett LTD version with the Floyd and everything, and a Galen Kruger backline 250 or 200. And so I thought, guitar is a guitar, and amp's an amp, whatever. Started playing through them, and I thought to myself, okay, I'm having a disconnect here because I'm watching this Allman Brothers VHS, because it was a long time ago. I'm watching this Allman Brothers VHS, and I can't get that sound out of my rig. So I went into
well, yeah.
This Floyd doesn't make that tone. So I went into a music store where there was a guy named Jesse who had been a roadie, guitar tech, touring guitar player. He was in his 70s, and he'd seen everything twice. And I came to Jesse and I said, "Jesse, what's wrong?" And he didn't say a word. All he did is he grabbed a Les Paul off the wall, took me into the back room where they had an old 4-hole Marshall on a 4x12, and turned everything up to 10, handed me the guitar, and I was like, oh, it was one of those moments where it's like, right tools for the job. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So after that, I spent a long time going through gear and like, okay, if that's what that is, then how did Brian May sound like Brian May? What makes a Fender Fender? What are all these different tones, right? How did Mark Knopfler sound like Mark Knopfler? Mm-hmm. And the answer is simple as fingers. So I bought and sold a bunch of stuff, and this was when the economy was really good and I could put a lot of money on my American Express card. And I was doing about $25,000 a month. Sometimes it would be, I'd make $100 on an item, take it, have it for a month, sell it. Sometimes I'd lose 100, but for the most part, I came out ahead, and wasn't biting me in the butt yet. But I had a chance to go through everything. So I would get I'd buy a $10,000 two-rock and a $3,500 two-rock, all with the same features. But what makes this one $10,000? What makes this one $3,500? Mm. And that was one of my biggest things, where it was like the $10,000 one didn't sound as good as the $3,500 one, and I couldn't figure out why. And swapping tubes between them, trying to figure out what the deal was that made this one not sound as good as its cheaper counterpart. So after doing that, you lose the Wizard of Oz thing. Once you can see back behind the curtain, and you stop taking things on as face value. It's like, oh, this is the greatest amp ever kind of thing. Loses its flavor once you've seen it all, you've had it all. And so I got to a point where my wife was working as a banquet server for hotels on-call part-time thing. But she would work on a Friday and Saturday night sometimes. When the kids were little, they'd be in bed by 8:30, and I had a lot of free time. So I bought a GDS kit in the 90s, a little 18-watt Marshall, and told myself I was going to take, I don't know, as long as I needed to, a few months, and I'd build this thing right and just really take my time in it. So 6 hours later, I had a finished amp, and I was like, wow, this isn't okay. And then, just going through it and understanding what was what, I'm like, okay, I could do better than this. Started looking at different designs, like, oh, I want to try that. I'm going to build a Dumble. I'm going to build some Trainwreck stuff. I'm going to build a Vox. I'm going to build Marshall, and just started doing that to understand the circuits at the component level. And then I looked into some transformers on eBay that were sold by the guy that used to own Speedster amps up in Seattle. Yeah, and he had these made because it was supposed to be, what he told me was a joint venture with Mike Soldano on a high gain AC30, and I really wanted to do that. And they were Schumacher transformers, which were really nice transformers. So I bought a set from him, and I built the first real Morgan was a 3800. And it was actually called the MV 3.8K because MV means master volume. 3.8K means 3800, which was literally a AC30 and a JCM 800 and the same kind of thing.
I remember that model you had.
Yeah, right. So I still make the 3800 occasionally for people who special order it, but it's not part of the line. And I had a friend come over and he played through it and he wouldn't leave till he gave me a check. And then he was saying, "Oh, you should start an amp company." And I told him that it's ridiculous. There are too many amp companies already. But if I were going to start an amp company, I would want to get the cabinet maker that Divided by 13 uses. But it's not like I can call up Fred and say, "Hey, Fred, who makes your cabinets? Because I want to go into business." So my daughter was selling an iPhone to pay or selling a drum kit to pay for her first iPhone. And the guy that came over to buy the drum kit saw the amp parts in the garage and said, "Oh, you make amps? I make all the cabinets for Divided by 13. So
what are the odds?
I took that as a sign. And then a buddy of mine who's a graphic designer made me 10 logos, and they were radically different than what we've got within this thing. And but he sent me this as the 11th, and he goes, "Oh, I made this one too, but I really don't like it." And the second I saw it, I knew that was the logo. And I knew it was going to be on the left-hand side of the amp, and I knew how everything was going to be laid out. And it just kind of fell together from there.
And how long ago was that?
2009.
Cool.
I think the first amp I saw of yours it belonged to Derek Tabata.
Oh yeah, good boy, that one was an old one.
Yeah, the little AC thing of some sort.
Yeah, it's a little black thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it looked cool.
Somebody brought that into the shop recently and had me just kind of go through it. Yeah, that was weird. That was like because I had done some stuff under the moniker JMI, which was the old Jennings Musical Industries, right? So Joe Morgan Industries, I figured if they didn't have a copyright on the three slanted rectangles, I was going to steal it. And just because I love old Vox so much. But Music Ground in the UK still had the copyright on that, so I couldn't steal the logo. So I made a new one, and instead of three slanted rectangles, I had three slanted ovals. So it was totally different. But then, I was talking to a lawyer friend of mine. He's like, "Yeah, you better not do that. You're just going to get sued."
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I changed over to Morgan when I actually started manufacturing amps for sale.
Now, are your amps hand? I don't know the answer to this, and maybe other people are wondering too. Are they hand wired? What's the how are they manufactured?
Oh yes, they're hand wired with unicorn dust and pixie feathers. The hand wired,
gluten free.
In fact, 100% gluten free, but they're not made in a gluten environment. So, although they're gluten free, I still wouldn't lick them. Yeah, they're handmade by little.
Now let's get down to the nitty gritty here.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a hybrid board?
I'm glad you brought that up, Dave. One of the things that I had to do when I back in the day, Joe Morgan sitting at his bench making some guitar amps, right? I used turret board constructions, and what I would do is I would drill out Garolite and press turrets into every single board. It took a long time. And then every board sat. There wasn't like a universal fit inside the chassis, because I had a chassis that would work across about 6 different models. So every time I put a board in, I had to re-drill the holes for wherever this particular board was going to sit in that particular amp. And then I'd sit there and I'd hand wrap the turrets with wire and parts, and now all at the same time taking phone calls and answering emails and watching TV. And some of that early stuff, when I was getting really distracted, I would have turrets that I'd forgotten to solder. Like something would come back, like, yeah, I'm getting a little bit of noise, and I'd be like, "Don't!" It's like that thing never got done. But one of the biggest problems I had was when you run power. Like I was just using wires to run power across that turret board, right? So depending on that exact length of the wire, because every one was a little bit different, that all kind of affected everything. So when we had to go into manufacturing, what I had to do is, one, I had to cut out a bunch of models that I was making, only because you could only put so much into production. And the other was I had to come up with a board that was repeatable, that we could do again and again and again. But I didn't want to give up the hand wiring aspect. So what we did is we took an eyelet board, and then I added the power lines, the lines that go for the B plus power, and also the ground, so that all of that would be consistent every single time. But other than that, it's all hand wires to the turret, or to the eyelet board, like an old Fender board would be, and then out to the pots. So, and quite honestly, we're using the same parts, the same vendors, same manufacturers as I was. That's part of my contract. These guys make a better amp than I ever did, because they're not as distracted. Their work is a lot cleaner than mine, because that's what they do all day. I couldn't be happier about the quality of stuff that's coming out of there. In fact, like Dave knows, we go in and we test hundreds of amps, and I think I went through a rack of 35 the other day, and I had one bad a tube that got taken out and burn in, and that was it. And it's like,
lucky.
It's just, yeah, no.
Lucky. Let me bang my head against the bench right now on my EL34 problems.
EL34s. Yeah, no, dude.
Let me tell you, it's no problems with the builds of the amps. My biggest dilemma these days is EL34s, and literally I switched from one vendor to another vendor. Now that vendor is having issues with the ones we're getting from them, and it's literally like slowing me down testing everything. It's like I don't feel good about it. Right. And I might have to switch brands again to something else. And the thing is, it's not about necessarily what I like the best. It's now down to what's going to work the best. And still sound good, of course. You don't want to make it sound bad, but what's going to work the best and be the most reliable? Honestly, frankly, if I could change all the amps and it still sounded good enough to me, if I could change them all to 5881 power tubes, I would. Because like Dirty Shirley amps,
thing, right?
Dirty Shirley amps, I never have problems with tubes. In rarity that a tube fails in those, rare. And I'm just like, oh God, I wish.
What about Eddie?
I wish.
What about 84 amps?
Less problems than I'm having with EL34.
The JJs have been pretty consistent. The JJ EL84s, the biggest problem with EL84s is they're a small bottle tube, meaning that the glass is just super thin on them. And one of the things that we've done in manufacturing is we figured out how to make things thinner and cheaper and thinner and cheaper. And unfortunately, that's come down to the glass that they use on EL84s. So subsequently, they fail, but not like the EL34 problems Dave's having are that's just crazy. I mean,
it's just like ridiculous. I have to literally beat the hell out of them on the bench just to see if I can get them to fail. I got to switch. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do right now. Just don't know. Oh, we lost Joe.
Oh, yeah. funny what happens when you get a phone call where you're.
Yeah.
I'm back.
You're back.
You guys.
You're back. That's cool.
My hairy back. No, I'll say, all right, so in the 80s, Jim Marshall, right? They were having a problem with the EL-34s and shipping them to America, and in fact, to the point where they stopped shipping EL-34s to America and they changed all the amps over to 6550s.
Yep.
And that's where, like, all, Zach Wild and those guys that swear by that 6550 Marshall tone, I mean, that's where all that came from. But it was predominantly just because crappy EL-34s. So it seems like what goes around
and
comes
that was
around.
the good ones.
Yeah, right. Those are we would kill for those right now.
I'd kill for those tubes.
Yeah, and that's therein lies the rub, right?
So
and it's unacceptable.
To use 6550s, would you have to change the power transformer, or what is it to use them?
No, same power transformer. No. What you end up doing is you just have to change, like where the negative feedback
goes splitter
off the tap. Yeah, just a little bit different. But I mean, it's a radically different tone. It really is. It's like I don't think you can replace 6550s EL-34s and say that it's the same sound from the amps. It's different. I mean.
This is becoming a real issue for me. Like a major issue.
We're laughing about it, but
it's not too funny to me.
Yeah, you've got. I mean, that pile of tubes, the dead tubes that's sitting on the bench, is insane. Is absolutely insane, and that's like people don't understand. I think that's one of the other things with. The tubes are delicate in general, right? They're like super high voltage light bulbs. When you go home at night and you flip on a light switch and your light blows, you don't blame the switch. You don't call the switch manufacturer and say, hey, your switch sucks. You don't want to replace the switch. You just go and you get another light bulb and you stick it in there. Unfortunately for us, when a tube blows up, even if the amp's 3 weeks old or 3 years old, it's still a crappy light bulb. It's still going to blow up. It's going to die at some point. Mm-hmm. Whether that's tomorrow or whether it's 3 years from tomorrow, that's the part we have no control over. But the manufacturers that are manufacturing tubes now, JJ throws away 80% of their production. They can make enough money selling us 20% that passes so that they don't have to clean up their practices or fix their systems. And then out of the 20% that they do sell to the public, we'll get 100 tubes in, and we may lose like 30% of those tubes in burn-in. And that's not, and those are normal problems, and that's a pain in the ass. But what Dave's talking about is what percentage of EL-34s do you think you're losing right now, Dave?
Well, it's different problems right now. Right now, we're back to JJs. We switched back from TADs, the Chinese TADs, because the Chinese TADs would fail in a different way. They would just dead short and take out the fuse, and one tube's bad in your batch, and they were doing that consistently though. So we had to switch. Right. We switched back to JJs, which I have used before in the past. But now a problem has reared its ugly head that was around about 4 years ago, 5 years ago. There was a problem where the JJ tubes would just have like kind of ghost noises, like crackles in them. And so now that's the problem I'm having right now, and some red plating. So that problem that was fixed for a while has now reared its ugly head again. So it's almost like now you got to beat JJ up again, and then they'll fix the problem. But then 4 years from now, again, they'll have a bad batch or something. And it's the batch of tubes when they're made. It's a big batch of tubes, and it goes out to all vendors. So all tube matching companies will have this issue probably. Frankly, I don't think they test them well enough to catch it. Otherwise, they'd catch it. I think they're missing a step somehow, and they're not catching the stuff. So,
and I think you said something that interesting there, Dave, too. And I don't know that most people understand this. when you're buying Ruby tubes, or you're buying Groove Tube, or you're buying, X brand, those brands don't actually make the tubes. Yeah. They're just buying the same tubes direct from the source, and their entire what they're doing is they're offering a service where they take the testing to another level. But like what Dave's saying too is, I think you're still seeing fallout within that, even within that group of extra tested stuff too. But people should understand, like when we talk about JJs, you can buy a JJ from ARS or Ruby or Groove Tubes or, insert name here.
CE distribution or, right, one of Doug's tubes, whoever.
Right.
Whoever brands them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with that said, with these problems that we're seeing with tube manufacturing, and even though we all love tube amps, do you think that eventually this is going to lead to just no tube amps anymore eventually, and we're just going to go to
oh God, let's hope not.
Okay.
No.
So
well, people were saying that exact same comment back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Right.
With the Rocktron and all that stuff.
So so that hasn't happened yet. Still nothing quite sounds like that, and
no, and in fact,
and it's not even sound; it's feel more than anything. It's the feel and the immediacy and the veil that's lifted off of the sound, where like a modeler, although you can maybe record a track and it'll sound the same in the recording, but when you're actually sitting in front of it playing it, it feels different.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't react the same way. It doesn't react the same way to your volume knob changes. It doesn't react the same way to.
No, in fact, I got asked that question by some film crew one time. They asked me what I thought about digital modeling, and my response is, I love my wife. We've been married 28 years. I get to go home to her every night and touch her, feel her, smell her hair and her warm body. Now, if you told me I had to have that relationship with her, but just over a computer, I'd be like, no, it's not the same. It's like digital modeling is the internet porn of the guitar industry. You can have any flavor you want, but none of it's going to be real.
Mm.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
That's a great analogy.
Or someone. Yeah. People have put that in several different ways. Some like real, some like fake. Hey, but I'm gonna go for the real. I'm gonna go for the real. So
what are you talking about, Dave?
I have no idea.
I think we're talking amps.
Yeah, we're talking amps.
We're talking amps. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of tubes around. There's still a lot of tubes being manufactured, and hey, maybe the next amp I make will not be based around EL34s.
What about KT88s or 6L6s?
Can be cool. Can be cool. KT88s are going to add like cost to the amp. I mean, the big bottle tubes like that cost a lot.
And KT88s, then you're talking about different output transformers and everything else too.
6L6s, you can, You obviously I did it with the Dirty Shirley, but I started with that tube.
Mm.
And then I made the amp around the sound of that power section. So yeah, I can do that again. It just, I got to start from the beginning that way.
Mm.
Yeah. If I do another big amp, I don't think it's going to be L34s. I don't think it can be.
Well, gentlemen, I'm going to have to jump off. I have a dinner engagement that I am being summoned to.
No problem.
So, any last questions?
There was actually a bunch.
There's a whole bunch of questions.
Oh, really? Shoot.
Let's see. There was one question that someone had about your favorite speakers that you prefer for your amps.
Well, I think the G12H75 Creamback is the best speaker for I use it for almost everything because it's a pretty basic tonal palette. If I'm going for that Vox thing, then I'm gonna, 2 blues and a 2x12, a single gold. Even the new Alnico Creamback is an awesome speaker. But that's going to be for a specific application.
Okay, that's good stuff. Another question.
Here's one.
Go ahead, Dave.
Here's one for you, Joe. What's the deal with the NKT 275 thing?
NKT 275. What's the deal?
Yeah, with I think he's talking about the controversy about
the big controversy
the thing.
Is the company that we bought the transistors from bought all of New Sensor's stock, bought everything that they had when they went out of business in the 80s. And this stuff has been sitting around since then, right? We bought, I guess at some point they had bought NKT 275s in a TO5 package that were manufactured by New Sensor, right? And so they sent them to us in bags that say NKT 275 on them, right? So that's what they had bought from New Sensor. That's what was shipped to them, and that's what was shipped to us, and that's what I had. So I had NKT 275s in a TO5 package that came from new old stock that New Sensor sold to a company in the United States when they liquidated all of their assets. And that's what's in the NKT 275. And, you know, people want to piss and moan and berate the fact that it's not the right, but it is. It's the right freaking transistor. It sounds right. It is right. If you don't want it, don't buy it. But I think it's one of the greatest deals in a germanium fuzz face style pedal that we've had in years.
Okay. I don't want to keep you from dinner. Do you see any other questions, Dave?
I don't know. I was looking. I think there was a couple other, but I think we can.
Yeah, well, you want to stay on the line, and we'll let Joe go.
Yeah, no, I can stay. That's not a problem. We can go through some of these questions and stuff.
Okay.
Have a good dinner, Joe.
Sauce.
Yeah,
thanks,
well, thanks
guys.
for joining.
Fun hanging out.
Yeah, you guys check out morganamps.com, right? That's the address.
You got it.
And we'll be seeing you at Summer NAMM. Thanks for coming on, Joe.
Days.
Yeah.
All right, exactly. Take care, guys.
Have a great night.
Cool. All right. See ya.
Thank you. All right.
All right.
So
that's fun. As Joe's playing video games the whole time. That's I love.
It was multitasking.
Multitasking, yeah, that's pretty good. I don't think I could do that.
I don't think I could either. I couldn't do it.
I couldn't pay attention to both. I know, and there's no way.
Yeah,
I have a hard enough time looking at the questions and then talking on the screen.
Right. Yeah, that's hard enough as it is. You know, Tim Pierce sent me. First of all, he said he always gets confused, at least in these chats, with the real Tim Pierce.
Spelled differently.
Is it spelled differently?
Yeah.
The last name?
Yeah. Pierce is Pierce.
Ah, okay. I wonder, we can't get Joe off here. I wonder if I should just get him out here. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So Tim Pierce sent you a question, all right? And it's I won't go through the whole thing because he basically said that he bought an amp, from the Egnator hand-wired classes. He said he ran it through a friend's 4x12 and it was way too much for him, I guess, in terms of sound. He said, I wish I had the budget for Dave's full rig, but it is what it is. He said, I know Dave makes 2x12s and 1x12s. I wonder what the tone and projection difference is in 2x12 versus 1x12, or would it be better to use two 1x12s? And then he had another question on speakers, which I can kind of wait if you want to answer the first one.
Oh, that's a very good question. I mean, specifically the 112s that we make is a ported 112 that sounds a little more like a 4x12 in nature. Really good sounding cab. It's still a small cab, though. You know, it's still not.
That's the one I have.
Depends on what you're doing.
I think I told you.
It sounds great.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Yeah, it depends on what you're trying to do with this amp. I mean, are you just playing it at home and you just need a cab to listen to? And if that's really the case, the one by 12 is great. If you got two 1x12s, you can have some option. If you're playing in like a live format, you have some options on where you're placing these 112s too, which could be beneficial to you. You could put one pointing at you in front and keep your volume lower, and have one behind you. You could do all sorts of different ways of setting it. If your drummer needs to hear you more and you can't rely on the monitors, you can point it at him. A separate 112 while one's at you. 212 is obviously it's just one direction. It's gonna project pretty good. It's a little bit bigger sounding than the 112. Not as big sounding as a 412.
Mm-hmm.
They're all good. It just it depends on your application.
Yeah, and I told him that the 1x12 that I have from you, it actually sounds much larger than it looks. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It sure does. Yeah.
And then his other question went around speakers, which ties into also what I have, because he asked, will a 20-watt head drive the creambacks that you use, which is a 65 watt?
Oh yeah. It'll drive it plenty. You're not really. I mean, you can use whatever speaker you want, but I mean, it drives it fine. I mean, generally, you're not deriving a lot of your distortion from the speaker distortion that happens when you drive the speaker to oblivion.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, sometimes driving the speaker to oblivion actually makes it more kind of unclear and washed over sounding. So it won't have as much definition. So often the bigger wattage speaker just handles it a little bit better, and you get more consistent tone.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The other question that he had, he was sending me some private messages. So thanks for that, Tim. Thanks for watching the show, by the way. He was saying about cabinet construction. A lot of cabinets are not made very well or from good materials, and he wanted to know what your thoughts are as it relates to different cabinets and how they're made.
Well, I mean, generally speaking, I mean, all our cabinets are made with Baltic birch, like an old vintage Marshall cabinet would be made from, or a Hiwatt cabinet, or various older cabinets. Baltic birch is generally the best wood for a cabinet construction. It has kind of the best projection, the best punch. It's a 5/8 Baltic birch, so it's I believe that's 11 ply. And that's generally what's used in a good high-end cabinet. Now, there are exceptions to that. In some Fendery-based amplifiers, pine was often used. Pine is a softwood. It's got a different tone to it. It's a different thing. So it depends on what what you're going after. I mean, pine can be great too for the Fendery thing.
Right. Exactly. And
yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Actually, Lou, that's great. Tim says thank you for a lot for the answers. Lou Sequoia has a question. He says, Dave, have you ever heard a clone of your amps?
I don't. I know there's a couple people that have made clones of my amps, but no, I've never heard one in person.
Okay, what do you think about that? People making clones of your amps?
Generally speaking, they're making a clone for their own, not for their own profit, but for their own use. Generally speaking, and they want to see how the circuit works, and they want to try it out. And I don't have an overwhelm. I would do it too if I, want to experiment with a circuit and you're playing around with tube amps and learning how to build things. And sure, now if you start to try to sell it for profit, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was wondering.
Then you have to be careful.
Are there companies that are doing that?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
Yeah, I had actually heard.
And it's not so easy to do. I mean, you can make a clone, but unless you really have access to everything that we do, meaning you're utilizing the same capacitors that we're utilizing the same output transformer and the transformers we use. Unless you have access to that exact stuff, you're not going to have exactly the same sounding amp.
Yeah, it's like a chef putting all the ingredients in.
Yeah.
If it's not right,
might sound good. But,
might sound close.
Might sound close.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see what other questions. There was another question about the difference between 6L6s and EL34s. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
That's really hard to just put into words.
Or more consistent, actually. Adam EVH, what's more consistent, EL34s or 6L6s? It sounds like 6L6s.
How about what's more reliable? What's more reliable is a 6L6. Generally speaking, the sound difference. That it's hard to just put that into words. Some people will try to say, yeah, the 6L6 is a little harder sounding of a tube, and it has a little more mid-range, or it has a little less mid-range, or well, that's really so dependent on what circuit you're putting it into. Not so much. Like, for instance, you would think that a 6L6 would impart like some sort of character on the overall tone. So right behind you, you have a Friedman power station sitting there, right? Yep. So in the Friedman power station, it's an extremely transparent power attenuator, right? Extremely transparent, but it's got 6L6s in it. So how can it be that transparent? Depends on the circuit you're putting it in and how you built it. If the 6L6 gives a certain tone, then you would think that would give you a certain tone. But in reality, you can A/B that if you A/B it at full volume with your Marshall, and you just turn the power switch on and off.
I've done that. Yeah.
Or standby operate switch or whatever. You can match it up where it sounds like identical.
Right.
So
exactly.
how can that be?
Right.
Yeah.
How can that be? So it comes down to what?
It comes to the way the circuit was designed around the tube, and what transformer was used, and the negative feedback circuit they used, and the presence circuit, and everything.
Wow.
So you can revoice the circuit to be more neutral or more colored or more. Yeah.
Very cool. So I had a couple questions for you just off the top of my head, because I know that just from a Friedman product line perspective. Have you released the any pedals that we're still waiting on from regular Winter NAMM, the Dirty Shirley pedal?
No, we haven't. The two pedals that will be coming out at the end of August will be the Buxom Boost pedal and the Dirty Shirley pedal. Dirty Shirley pedal, unlike the BEOD, is more of a medium gain overdrive, and going a little more for classic sounds, or if you're going to push an already overdriven amp. But it can also work into a clean amp totally fine. Kind of get you that more fat Dirty Shirley kind of tonality to it. Although if using it into a dirty amp, you can make it where it's just boosting that amp and giving you more, not necessarily imparting the Dirty Shirley sound on that amp, but it's operating more like a Tube Screamer would, or one of various overdrive pedals. So that one's going to be really, really cool. Sounds really great. And then the Buxom Boost is a boost, a clean boost with a tight knob on it, like the BEOD has. So you can filter out the low end if you want to make it tighter with a clean boost. But then it also has an EQ section that you can kick in that has boost and cut on the treble knob, and then boosts on the mid and the bass. So in other words, you can take that pedal and make it more of a treble booster, like an old, the old treble boosters that people used to use into their Marshalls. You can make it kind of a mid-range bump kind of boost for your lead sound. You can EQ it so it's more scooped and has like kind of a bright, like a loudness control sort of for a sparkly clean tone. You can take your Dirty Shirley amplifier that you already have and turn it into more of a metal amp if you want, because you can filter the EQ in such a way where it tightens it up and does something. You can really make it be whatever boost you need, however you want to voice it. So it's really kind of an indispensable pedal. You can do almost anything you want with it. And I think anyone that even owns any sort of amp that just wants a pedal to revoice it and recolor it a different way, it's great for.
Very cool. And those are coming out in August, you said, right?
End of August, should start shipping.
Awesome. Yeah. So this question was to Joe, and I want to ask you also because it piqued my interest. What's your go-to guitar when you're testing amps? Is it a Friedman?
I got a lot of them. No. Well, yes and no. Although I just got a new one.
Yeah, you were showing that to me before. Copper.
This is a new one. It's a copper telly, kind of Esquire style with a humbucker. The chopped telly bridge, and really beat the hell up.
That is nice.
Really cool. Really cool. That guitar sounds amazing. Actually, maybe one of my best sounding guitars right now.
Really? Nice.
Other than that, I was always kind of more of a Strat guy growing up. So I have a couple road-worn Strats, black maple-necked road-worn Strats that I use. One has a humbucker in it. One is hanging on the wall behind me. There's a black Strat up there that has Lindy Fralin single coil, hump canceling single coils in it. So that's like a single coil guitar I have that's kind of hum canceling. Then I have another duplicate of it that has a humbucker in the bridge, has one of my humbuckers in it. Then, I mean, I got several others. I got that Kramer back there that I'm trying to sell, and I have a Bernie, old from the 80s, Bernie Les Paul back there. So you're never much of a Les Paul player. Do I use all of them? At various times, I do. Okay. Like, I'll just listen to, I just get a wild hair up my ass to, use a different guitar.
Right.
And just listen to the different guitars, yeah.
That's cool. I have to get my hands on one of your pickups.
We can do that.
So you guys are going to be doing that, right? You're going to be making pickups too.
We are going to be making pickups. I think that, although I think that's going to be more of a focus, I think, for Winter NAMM.
Cool.
We've had a lot of great feedback on the pickups. A lot of great players that are very picky really like them. So I think we got some winners here.
That's cool.
And they're kind of unique. They're kind of unique sounding too. I mean, they're nothing quite sounds exactly like them. That's they sound not unique as in not familiar, but unique like, wow, that's really good. That's really kind of totally dialed in.
Right.
Yeah.
And are there going to be different styles, or just one overall?
Yeah, there'll probably be I think I have 4 different bridge humbuckers that we're doing, and there's a couple different neck humbuckers, a couple different heats of neck humbucker. There's going to be some Alnico 3 single coil pickups that we're doing. Neck, middle, bridge, 1 reverse polarity if you have a Strat. There'll be the P90 style pickups that we're doing. And we got a couple different telly pickups too for the bridge position on a telly.
Sweet.
Although we haven't done a neck position telly pickup yet, but we'll do that too. There's a cool blade pickup that we did with Alnico 5, which is kind of not done very often. That sounds really, really cool for a telly like blade pickup. So if you've got a stock telly that you just want kind of the little higher output, a little more humbuckery sound, but still sounds telly-ish. that's a really cool one, and it sounds really good clean too, which some of those blade things don't.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I put in my telly? I tried a quarter pounder. You ever see those or try those?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, been around forever.
It beefed it up. It wasn't bad.
Yeah,
but
this little blade one was really, really cool that we experimented with, and what amazed me is that even in an Esquire kind of guitar, there's one pickup. You could totally clean it up, and it sounded just great clean also, and and I was like, that's really good. And an idea to make an Esquire that has a switch on it that does series, split, and parallel on that one blade humbucker, and then it'd be pretty versatile, actually.
Yeah, that would.
I kind of have this thing for Esquires. I kind of like one pickup guitar, sort of. I don't know. Maybe that's a product of the '80s still, but I've always kind of liked that, and I always kind of liked being able to coax a whole bunch of different tones out of that one pickup. So.
Yeah, I like the I have an SG Special or an SG Junior actually, or a or a Les Paul Junior. You know.
Yeah.
Those are pretty cool too.
Yeah, exactly. That's sort of where that comes from too. Sort of, yeah. Double cut Les Paul Junior. It's still something I'd like to own.
Oh, but I don't. Actually, when I was in LA for Winter NAMM, a buddy of mine I'd known for several years, and another lefty, I bought a guitar from him off eBay a long time ago. His name is Bob Mello. Lives in LA, and he's a fellow lefty, and we became friends after I bought the guitar from him, and we just started emailing, and I finally went to his house this past Winter NAMM, and it was kind of like he opened up the closet for me, and it was like all these lefty guitars, and I was just like, oh, and
yeah, because you don't get to see that.
Right, exactly. It was just like, oh my God, like and of course if he came to my house it'd be the same way, but it's it's quite a rarity to have that happen.
Right.
Yeah, but it was cool, just going through like the different guitars that he had and stuff like that. But I forget what my point was, what we were just talking about, which led me to my point with Bob. But in any case, that's super cool. I'm glad you guys are coming out with pickups. There was a funny comment that Thrifty Flipside had. He said, thanks, Grover. Can you wash your hands before you start the next build?
Yeah, I know. I saw that. Yeah, I don't even want to think about this comment that I made earlier, but yeah, because you think too hard and it's stuck in your head and you're just like, oh, geez.
Yeah. That's funny. So let's see what other questions we had. So is there anything new that's coming out for Summer NAMM right now that you guys are
Summer NAMM? No, nothing new at Summer NAMM. We'll save that for down the road.
There you go. Is that typical for Summer NAMM? Most companies don't come out with new stuff for Summer NAMM?
No, that's not. We just ran out of time, really. Couldn't really get something together, and it's pretty close, to like you're still launching your products that you have from Winter NAMM, and it's hard to get something else together and try to launch it,
Yeah, I can imagine. Especially when you had multiple. It's not like you just came out with one product.
No, we had multiple things, and we're still not all out. So Pete Thorne had just done a video of the Motor City Drive that we came out with. I don't know if you saw that yet, Mark, but
I haven't had a chance to watch it, but I saw
the video. Amazing video, man. It's really, really good video, and that really sort of describes what that pedal does in that video very well. And the other thing about that is that pedal is extremely good for bass players. If you want a gritty bass sound, man, that thing will just do it. Really well, really particularly well. So, bass players, we have your pedal for you.
That's cool. There you go.
Yeah.
I also saw his video on the Fuzz Fiend, which was great too.
Yeah, which was great. Yeah.
I love how he was using that I don't know what you call that second button where it just kind of gives that extra,
Yeah,
push.
That oscillation sort of.
Yes.
And thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that was super cool.
That's really cool pedal. I really like that pedal. That's fun.
Yeah, good stuff. So someone wants to know: Have you ever tried to wire an amp while playing Nintendo? Has that ever happened?
Well, no, not me, because I don't play any games like that.
Exactly.
But Joe, maybe.
Yeah,
I'm not a game guy. I never was, even when I was a kid. So I just it just wasn't. Nah.
I played them, but I kind of stopped at at a certain point. But I was definitely into Galaga in the '80s. Like the
Well, like arcade games, and maybe a little different. Like arcade games. I still like like there was a really cool place in San Francisco that is on one of the piers in San Francisco. It's a vintage arcade that has games going back to the late 1800s.
Oh crap!
And all through the 80s, basically.
Right.
And
right. Like the history of games.
And like you see some of sort of you see some of these archaic little things, but they were sort of games or little sort of things you put your money in, and that was really cool. And you can go and play them, and you can go play these games and stuff at this arcade. It was fun. It was really fun.
That is cool.
I thought it was really interesting, actually.
I went to someone's one of their kids' bar mitzvahs, and they actually had some old style video games, which was cool, like Galaga and Pac-Man
and
yeah.
There's a bar or two out here in LA that have all vintage video games at it now.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, I mean now those games maybe I'd sit down and play. I'd play Galaga or Asteroids or something like that. Just for
exactly.
Fun,
Right. It kind of brings you back.
Yeah.
But the game that Joe was playing, that's very much the alley of like what my son or somebody else would play. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you have to hook up your son with Joe, and they'll play online.
Exactly. Let's see. Dave Pickups would be great. They wanted to know, are they wound by Grover? I don't think so, right?
No, they're wound. The pickups are wound at Grover's shop to specs that Grover and I came up with together. So, yes, they are wound in-house where we make the guitars.
Cool. So you said you had an order for over 10,000 guitars? Is that what you said?
No, not 10,000 guitars. We were talking. I wasn't really throwing the number of what the order is, but it was a large number, and we increased it. In order for Grover to make that comment, we increased it by $10,000.
Oh, 10,000. Oh, I got you.
So we increased the order by $10,000 with him, and he was like, "Fantastic!"
I got you. All right. I wanted to put
that's
it
where
in
the
context.
comment came from. Yeah.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah, no, not 10,000 guitars. I think how many guitars were on the order? I don't know. I really don't.
No, that's fine. I was thinking for 10,000 guitars, he would probably have a heart attack.
What we have to do, so we have guitars in stock constantly, is we have to place orders of guitars that we want to see or do, or okay, we're going to make one that's candy apple red that is with a sunburst under it, and so it's worn away to a sunburst, and or we're going to make a gold one, or whatever color, whatever neck, whatever combination of color. So we make some of those up for stock, and then the dealers often pick those from stock. Other times the dealers place an order for exactly what they want, or a combination of the two. Mm-hmm. But if they're all to order, it's kind of hard to keep guitars flowing all the time. So we often spec out guitars ourselves on what we think would be cool.
That's cool.
And then throw them out there to the dealers, and the dealers take them. And that's how that goes.
Cool. Very good. Let's see what other questions we've got. Let me see. Oh,
someone said, do most amp makers know each other? I actually don't think that's necessarily true. Most don't. But when I moved to California in 1988 or 87 or some year like that, a long time ago, different lifetime, I was fortunate enough to work in this industry starting from when I was, 18 years old. So, and a lot of the amp makers were out here at the time. So you had guys like Mike Soldano, and you had guys like Stevie Fryette. And I knew Brett. I'm from Detroit, so I knew Bruce Egnator from Detroit. And I helped Bruce start his company originally. So a lot of the amp makers are friendly. I mean, people are friendly with each other, but I just happen to know a lot of them, right. Because I've been around them a long time,
Right.
And so that's why on this show that we can have so many different guys. I mean, other guys that we should have on is like Jamie from Third Power. Uh-oh, someone's sneaking in. Say hi.
You know a bunch of guys?
I know a few. This guy here, I know him.
I can't hear you guys because I don't have fancy headphones like that.
Yeah, that's okay. He's just not saying anything.
Hey, everybody. What's going on? What's going on with those Marshall amps back there? What do you got back there? You got a small box something or other, and you got a Fryette power thing on top.
And he's got a Metropolis underneath.
I'm waiting on the Friedman. Dave knows that.
He's waiting on the Friedman B100.
But I got a Metropolis.
He's got a runt somewhere floating around.
Yeah, the runts are over here. It's over here.
Is everything backwards, or are you a lefty?
He's a lefty.
Oh, okay.
If you want to hear.
Oh, that's okay. I'm just stopping in for a second.
Have a good night. Thanks for stopping in. He's a good dude.
Yeah. So so I just happened to kind of grow up in the industry around all these guys. We're surrounded, the Lee Jacksons and the Jose Arredondos, although I don't know Lee Jackson.
Well, we were talking about John Sewer, right?
Yeah, John Sewer also. Yeah, like I knew John from being at Bob Bradshaw's shop when he was there, and we're gonna have John on the show at some point.
Mike Soldano. Somebody commented that
Mike Soldano I'm gonna have on the show. Jamie from Third Power, I know we can have him on the show. So we can, and Bruce gonna have them on the show eventually. Kyle from Rhodes Amplifiers. I know him. I don't know him that well, but I know him. He likes beer. Know that.
Nothing wrong with that. Cheers. I gotta get another one.
Then there's there's guitar manufacturers too. Don Grosh from Grosh Guitars. We could have the guy from Echo Park Guitars on. I don't know him that well, but I know he'd love to come on. Now he's a Michigan guy. He moved to Michigan.
Man after your own heart.
Oh man, yeah. You could go on and on, probably.
That's cool.
And then there's artists. Then we can break into the artists who we plan on having some artists on too.
Yeah, well, we were talking. I know that was a question that came up. I was talking to Mully, and we were talking, and he's like, "Hey, let's just go online live." I was like, "Okay." So we went online, and then he started asking me questions. He's like, "So who's going to be on the show? Anybody you can name?" And from artists, I said, "You know what? I'm going to hold off until I talk to Dave." But I know you and I talked about Steve Stevens. He's going to come on.
Steve is going to come on the show for sure.
Yeah,
he'll be on the show. There's other guys I'd like to, but since I haven't confirmed anything with any of them yet, I don't want to say. Yeah. But I mean, I'm sure we can get Phil X on and John Shanks and a bunch of different producer guys I know too. I could. It would be sort of fun to get Brendan O'Brien on. That would be a great guy to get on.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I just came up with that right now. So I know him, and that could happen. That could happen.
I'll remind you on that one.
Yeah, no, that could definitely happen. It's just, what? It's just really, guys. It's just like it's like us figuring it out. Like this 2-week thing is actually kind of hard to do sometimes. It is. It's to plan it. It's like you do the show, and then a week goes by. and then you're like, shit, I got to get another guest.
Yeah.
and then you're just like kind of scrambling because you got to advertise it, and you got to have kind of a week roughly, or half a week at least to advertise it, and you're kind of scrambling. So I don't know if we'll always say we'll do it every 2 weeks.
No, we'll do our best. We'll do the best we can.
We'll do our best, but or if not, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely going to do some live streams from NAMM, Summer NAMM. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, we can do. You'll probably see a lot of separate live streams from NAMM. So, we can do. We can just kind of go crazy on that if we want. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah. Why the hell not? Exactly.
Hey, here's a cool player here. Let's go live right now.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no shortage of that there. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned Jerry Cantrell. That would be great if we could do that.
Maybe. It would be cool. It would be cool. We'll see though. I don't.
Yeah, it's tough.
Well, it's tough. There's sometimes management involved with some of the artists and things, and as soon as that happens, things can go sideways. So. Yeah.
Well, we were talking. Sorry, guys.
It's easier. If you're doing just straight with the artist, it's easier.
Yeah.
So.
So I saw, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it. But I saw, if you want to talk about it, the Neil Sean that you're building him an amp. That's still happening?
We are, yeah. Well, yeah. I'm not sure exactly what it is yet, but we are in talks to build him a amp, and it will be different, and it'll be something interesting. That's about all I can say right now. Conceptually, we have an idea what it'll be, but.
Cool. That's awesome.
It's gonna be a while yet. I mean, I think he blabbed it on his social media. So.
Yeah, he did. That's
we're kind of like, well, I guess we're doing it.
There you go. Well, that's always better than someone else on your end leaking it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no.
So, hey, we got a cool question here, which I'm curious about. Matthew Johnson wants to know: did you ever have any interaction with Ken Fisher of Trainwreck Circuits when he was still alive? How about Jim Kelly?
Neither. Ken, I've heard some of Ken's amps, and I think they were works of art. I mean, just sonically, they were works of art. I never had any. No, I never talked to him. I didn't. You know what? In the time that he was still around, I don't know if I really totally. Well, no, he was still around when. What year did he die? Do you know?
I don't know.
Anyone off the top of their heads? Was it in the 90s or was it? I can't remember off the top of my head.
What did he die from? He died young.
I don't even remember what he had. Some health issues, and I don't remember what it was exactly. I'm sorry if I'm not trying to offend anyone. I just don't know.
No, I'm just curious. I honestly don't know either.
Yeah, and so no, I didn't talk to either one of them. I like both their amps though a lot. Jim Kelly amps were really cool. I think he had some really interesting ideas with the attenuator on the dirty side, and it switched in, and I think it was could be a really great sounding amp. And likewise, I really like the Ken Fisher, the Liverpool amp. I really like. I like his EL84 amp. I got to hear one once and play through it once, up and close and personal kind of, and it was really great. It was really kind of special.
Were they kind of like that Dumble essence?
No, the Fisher's amps were not Dumble style amps. He kind of developed his own little circuit that he put in that had a little bit of Fender in it, and but into different kind of power sections that were a little English sort of. So it kind of created its own sort of tonality. It was great amps.
Now,
more of what I like than the Dumble is of what the Dumble is. So
okay, yeah, I actually have a Dumble circuit in one of my amps, a Fender Blackface amp that I have. It has a Dumble circuit. It's different. I wouldn't say I'm thrilled with it.
Right. It's unique, but every Dumble that was ever made is kind of a one. It was made for each player that was made for.
Yeah,
and it was voiced for them particularly. So unless you're hearing them play through that amp, you're not really hearing it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. By the way, he died in 2006. Someone says. Passed away.
Oh, it was that late. Oh.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, no. I never had the pleasure of talking to him.
Gotcha. Do you know Brian Wallace? Someone wants to know.
I know Brian Wallace, kind of. I mean, another Michigander. We know of each other. I've bought a few things from him over the years. I really haven't ever sat down with him or, been in person and talked to him. No.
Okay.
He does make cool amps and he makes cool transformers.
Yeah, I don't know him.
Yeah.
Brian Wallace. Cool. Lee Dunn says, howdy, guys. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Curtis Murata, Jerry Cantrell would be awesome. That would be cool. We'll try to make it work. The bottom line is we'll try to.
Cool.
We'll do the best we can.
I'll see. That camp is laced with management and things, and it's sometimes not too bad, but sometimes it's very difficult.
I get that. Yeah. Lou Sequoia, Mark, can you ask Dave about Bob Gijka? Do you know that guy? Bob Gijka?
No. Who is that?
I don't know. He mentioned his amps, Gijka amps or something like that.
Yeah, no, I saw that. I saw this in the chat here. I've never heard of those in my life.
Yeah, me either.
So I have no idea. I have no idea at all. What are they? Now I'm gonna go look it up now.
Yeah, Gitchka. Okay, interesting. But yeah, I think that's all the questions I've got. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about, or anything that you're thinking about as far as?
Oh, there's some more stuff in here, isn't it?
Is there?
Yeah. AxeFX 2 user, thoughts on your Dave Schneider, thoughts on your models they have. I think they did a really good job because they had all the information they could ever possibly need to do them for us. I think they sound really good. And funny thing is, most people that use AxeFXs use our models if they're using a higher gain tone. In fact, almost everyone I've run into do. How do I feel about that? That's a good question. I think they did a good job with it. It's like, in the retail establishment that we also own, we were one of the only dealers that ever existed for AxeFX. So we did have an opportunity to sell them, How do I feel about them? It's just like, it's a model or it's a tool. I think it serves a good purpose. Does it feel exactly like an amp? No, not exactly.
No.
But does it sound good? Yes. So
yeah, I mean,
just be the deciding factor. Well, the thing is, if you get in a room where you have your model versus the real thing, and you A/B it in the room, you'll have to tell me. So go do that. But my experience is like a lot of people wind up going, oh.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the positive grid bias head, right? So that's similar to a Kemper, similar to the AxeFX.
Yeah, sure.
And I can download, which I have. They've got a Friedman BE patch. People are doing their amp matching.
Of course. Yep.
And you can go on there and download 1,000 different, or probably 100 different Friedman amps on there. which I'm sure.
Great.
Yeah, I was wondering what you think about that. But at the end of the day, just comparing them both to, even I had the Runt, I actually downloaded a Runt patch and compared it to the, it was similar from a recording perspective, but to actually play it through a cabinet and listen to it.
Yeah, it's not, it doesn't feel the same.
Yeah, it was completely different,
Yeah. How do I feel about all the people making models of the amps on the Kemper and Positive Grid and whatever else? I kind of think it's sort of like when Napster started.
Yeah.
Back in the day. And now how we have Pandora and Spotify and everything. I think it's ruining the guitar industry like giving away music ruined the music industry. So, you work long and hard at your craft and you fine tune what you do, and then someone goes and buys the amp, models it, and then returns the amp.
Mm-hmm.
Super unethical. In the end, you're just going to kill it. Eventually maybe there'll be no amps to model left because no one's making anything new.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if everyone stops making tube amps? So you're going to have to just do all the old amps, I guess, forever, But I mean, that could very well be what happens in the future. I'm not sure. Oh, then again, there's a, in the music industry, there's a big thing about vinyl now again, so, and every year vinyl sales are going up. So people are going backwards in some respects also. So I also have seen some people going back to amps from modelers because of the same reason people are going from, their MP3s to the vinyl. It sounds better. It's just easier to use. You're not paging through 1,000 menus to try to, get your tone.
Hey, look,
that's got to be annoying live.
Exactly.
I mean, I have to turn the gain up. Hold on.
Let me change.
I'm almost there. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Let me. I mean, and I'm not saying that it's not viable technology and it's not a tool for the guitar player. It is, and I don't necessarily think it's fundamentally bad, but
it's theft. Let's call it.
It's theft. Yeah, it's kind of theft. And people might disagree with me, but I don't care.
I think it is when you go on there and I type in Friedman and 50 different amps come up, and you can do that with any one of these other, modelers.
I'll tell you what though, if any of them actually use the actual name in selling the product,
well, that's selling.
They're in trouble.
Yeah, but when you have something like like you said, like this tone cloud, right, where people can just like Napster, where they just throw up here's my amp match of a Friedman amp. They are calling it Friedman, but it's free, so there's no sale.
Yeah,
but it's part of the sale of the actual thing itself, though. So it's
right.
I don't know. It's not ethical. Let's just say that. At least I'm going to say that.
Well, I mean, how do you feel about the music industry now, guys? How do you feel about what's going on with that? How do you feel as a musician, you not being able to make a living at it anymore? How do you feel about all that? So you tell me. If you feel bad about all that, then you shouldn't do this stuff either. Because you're just contributing to the same sort of thing that kind of ruined the music industry. So
it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
We got a good question here from Matthew Johnson. He says, being a big Tony Iommi fan, I've always wanted to try out an old Laney supergroup from the 70s. An old supergroup. Have you either of you tried? You know what he's talking about, or have they come in?
Yeah,
for pairs?
Laney Supergroup had a very cool amp. Very similar to a Marshall in a lot of respects. Similar architecture, how it's done, like an old 4-input Marshall, but different choices in parts and some voicing choices and stuff. But very cool. I've worked on a bunch of those over the years. Yeah, very cool amps. But you know, you got to have everything else that Tony had in front of it too, to get it to sound, you know, sort of like, you know, his did. So
yeah, and then
and you know what, I'm not totally up on exactly what that was either, so I couldn't tell you. It might be a treble booster in there, I think, maybe, and some other things. A lot of those old bands use treble boosters, like the English bands and stuff, to push the front of their Marshalls, and like Judas Priest and things like that would use an old treble booster to boost their 4-input Marshalls into more distortion and a kind of a tighter, more, you know, metal sort of sound.
Right.
Yeah.
Tim Pierce asks, will Dave modify any other amps?
Sure. I still modify amps. Don't expect it to get done really quickly, but I do get some in. I try not to take them in if I got too much work sitting here. You know, I try to tell people, wait for a couple months and then talk to me then, and let me clear my backlog, because I don't really feel good about letting people's amps sit here forever.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm warning you up front. If you want to, you can let it sit here, and I will get it done eventually. But it's just like it'll take a little bit of time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And as you know, patience isn't my virtue.
You want it now.
I suck at that. You know that. So I'm just going to tell you up front. I'm a patience. I suck at that. It's just, I'm sure it's not. It's probably a musician thing. It's just, you know, it's kind of like, oh, I want that, and I really want it now. You know, I don't know.
Maybe we should make your amp that I'm making with white panels. Did you see that picture?
No.
That I sent you? No. The Stevens picture?
Let me see what you sent me. Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying that color. But
no, I like the white panel, actually.
The white panels are cool, and when you think, and it's got clear knobs. So
I like
now,
that.
when you think about that, you could have any color, and it would go well with the white panels with the clear knobs. Like you could do purple, you could do whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
You could do it all white. You could do white on white on white.
That would look hot. That would look hot.
Yeah, I made that. We made that amp for Steve, which will be I probably already posted on his social media.
He did. He did already. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an eye catcher. Go check that out on Steve Stevens' social media. Yeah, and you'll see. You can't really see that well on the screen.
Yeah,
it's a pink BE 100 half stack with white panels, clear knobs, white logo, and then it has the really expensive Blues Breaker grill cloth on the cabinet, which is an arm and a leg, but it's really cool looking.
It looks gorgeous.
So
I'm surprised. Now he got a BE instead of getting his signature model.
He uses both. He has both. So okay. I mean, he's got several of his signature models, and then he has a black crocodile skin BE that he has in his live rack with one of his amps, and then he has now this pink BE. So,
which he's going to use on Kings of Chaos, you said.
I think he said he was going to use it on more like gigs that that are not involving his main touring rig. I don't know what he's going to use it for. I don't know, but he wanted to make it, and it was fun to make. It was actually it's really like when you see it in person, you're like, wow, okay.
Yeah, it looks nice. It's cool.
It's actually cool.
Yeah, and he can pull it off. So.
Well, like I think I told him, I go, obviously you're very secure in your masculinity.
That he is.
So yeah, so there you go. So
in his 6-inch heels.
Well, you know what I really like? I mean, we did a vintage T guitar in like shell pink with a tortoise pickguard with a matching headstock. And shell pink is not quite like that pink. Right. It's more of that 50s sort of pink. It's a little more
subdued,
salmony pink, sort of subdued. But man, that guitar was so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, like I look at the case, I'm like, oh wow, I want that. You know, so
it's unique. Yeah, it's definitely nice. It's got a cool vibe to it.
I have to make one of those for myself.
There you go.
Gary Moore used to play a pink guitar.
Did he?
Yeah, he had a pink Strat.
I know Jason Becker
pink
did.
Strat. Yeah. No, Gary Moore did.
Here's a question for you, Dave. Are you working with Synergy amps? I think you were, right?
Yes. Yeah, no, Synergy. Synergy is actually being manufactured as we speak. Like literally, I've seen multiple units done. So everyone that's been waiting for that, it's finally coming out. We'll be at Synergy. Will also be at Nashville NAMM, Summer NAMM,
cool.
in the same booth that we have. And there's from us, the Synergy deal is that every company is licensed, real licensed modules from the real companies. So there's a Soldano module that Soldano, okayed. There's a Metropolis module that Metropolis okayed. There's my modules. I have 3 modules right currently. So like a Dirty Shirley module, the BE and the HBE modules. Then there's some Synergy branded modules, some different clean ones or semi-dirty ones, and a few others. And there's a Morgan, and there's going to be a Fryette module coming, and more down the road. Cool. And you can put it. There's I'm not going to go into too much detail, but there's different hardware, and there's all sorts of different hardware from amps to preamps to a little box that you can kind of add a preamp channel to one of your amps that has an effects loop. It's very cool.
Yeah, that is super cool. So, but it's. Yeah. I don't know anything about it. I actually just turned up the web page on it. So it's an actual physical amp, but it'll have modules like a Friedman module, or like you said, a Metropolis.
Well, there's a 50 watt amp and like a 30 watt amp. The 30 watt amp is a 1 module with a clean channel installed in the amp. The 50 watt is a 2 module amp, and then the rack mount preamp, a single space, is a 2 module amp with a stereo effects loop, cabinet emulation, and also that unit has the ability to hook up to your amp that has an effects loop already and switch between the preamps that are in that unit versus your preamp in your head. Right. So in other words, you can say you want your Soldano sound and your Morgan sound and all this stuff. You can hook it up to, say, your Metropolis head back there and have all those sounds. And then there's a little box too, Syn 1, which is a small box that can just sit up in the corner of your amp. And if you just want to add and switch between where it adds 1 module to your existing amp. So say you're a traveling musician and you want to take something that sounds good. You can take this little Syn 1 box. You can put it in your suitcase, right? You can show up and they can have a Fender DeVille amp or something for you rented, and you can plug it into that and say switch between the clean channel of that and maybe a cool Friedman dirty channel, and just utilize that amp, and you can get a pretty good tone out of it instead of necessarily using what kind of crap rented amp they have given you.
Exactly. No, that's super cool. Yeah, that's interesting. Cool. Yeah. And you said they're going to be at Summer NAMM too.
Yeah, they'll be in the booth with us there. Yeah.
That's cool.
I should probably look up what our booth is, and I could actually tell people.
Yeah, that'll be good.
It might be on my Facebook already. In fact, it should be. But
let me see.
I don't know.
I can go look 1 second and let people know.
I could go to NAMM thing too, but Probably on the official Friedman Facebook if there's a NAMM announcement.
I'm on the Friedman thing right now, so I'll tell people. Let's see if there's a summer NAMM. I see for the All-Star Jam, which is at 8 p.m. at Soulshine.
Yep.
But I don't see what booth you're going to be at.
Well, then I might be able to tell you in a minute here, so we can get it out of the way.
Yep.
I'll find it. So anyway, more questions?
Yeah, I'm going to keep looking.
While I'm looking.
Let's see. Someone said Tony usually ran a modded Range Master in the bass channel on his Laneys back in the 70s.
Yeah, that makes sense. Most people that ran a Range Master, even like Judas Priest and stuff, ran into the bass channel of the amps. And then they boosted the treble with that. And yeah.
Interesting.
But keep going. Sorry, Mark.
No, it says he would also use a Tycho Brahe parapedal wah. Didn't start any more stuff until the Dio years. Interesting. Let me see. Someone asked, I don't know what the question was about the runt, but someone said the runt has a direct out. It does. It actually has a load, so you don't even need
the runt 20 has the load.
Right. Was there a particular reason why you did it on the 20 but not the 50?
The load has to be a lot bigger, and I didn't have a lot of room. That's why.
Okay. Hey, Dave, were you ever in a band? Jaden James wants to know.
Yeah, a long time ago, in a different lifetime, in Detroit.
And you don't play with any guys now or anything like that?
I don't have any time at all.
Yeah, I hear you.
No time at all.
Let me see.
Show directory. Here we go. We're going to find it.
Okay. I think we covered most of these questions that I see. And the question, there was another question about we're going to be doing live streams, but someone's not on Facebook. And I said I'll do my very best to take those live streams and put them on YouTube.
Yeah. So our booth is 1443. 1443 at Summer NAMM, starting on the 13th, I believe. 13th, 14th, and 15th, I do believe.
I think it's actually isn't the 14th. 14th is Friday. Right. So it's 13th.
So it's the 13th,
14th, 14th, and 15th. You got it.
Yep.
So there is no Sunday NAMM?
There for no Sunday NAMM at this year.
Okay.
No Sunday NAMM in summer, I guess. One less day.
That's cool.
That's good.
I'm leaving Sunday anyway, so I'll be there the 14th and the 15th. Flying in the 13th.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Well, good timing because you can come to our show.
Oh, I can't wait. And it's my wife's birthday, by the way. So
you have to just call her, I guess.
No. She's going to be with us.
Oh, she's coming. Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's coming. She's going to be spending most of the time with my cousin's wife, just chilling.
Oh, okay.
But I think I said, why don't you come to the Friday night shindig? Have some drinks and watch some music.
Yeah. That it's going to be fun.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
So we're actually Seduce is actually playing a short set again.
Yeah, I saw that. That's cool.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a bridge set, a short one, but yeah, they're gonna get up since all of them are going to be in town at the same time. Why not? Right?
Why not? Exactly. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never seen them live except for video. So.
Yeah, there you go. Well, whether or not this place is exactly the best venue to see them live, I don't know, because it's kind of apparently it's rather small and not necessarily like there's not going to be a credible amount of volume or anything, that's generally involved with their shows.
It's a pizza place.
But we'll see. Yeah, well, yeah, but it's a whole live venue upstairs, evidently. So
yeah, I did a tour. If people want to check it out, you can look up Soulshine in Nashville. There's going to be they actually have a 360 thing where you can go upstairs and check out the stage. And
yeah, they evidently enclosed the upstairs used to be outside, and apparently they enclosed it now or something. I'm not sure.
Oh, cool. It looked nice.
What the deal is exactly.
It looked rather large, spacious at least.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll be good.
That's cool. Let's see if there's any other questions. Someone mentioned James Lugo.
What about James? He's in Nashville.
Yeah.
I got to reach out to James, actually, get him to come out.
Someone said,
in fact, we'll get James up to play.
Oh, yeah? Is he a good
Yes, that's a good idea. He's a great singer.
He is a great singer.
And he's a great singer and a great guitar player, too. So, in fact, I need to text him.
There you go.
There's so many things I have to do that I'm not thinking about and people that I have to contact. So
we have a question here, and I don't want to throw a question to you that's going to cause anything. Dave, did you have a scrape with the owner of PWE? I don't know what that is.
I don't really think so. That's a good. It's a very good question. I don't really know myself.
Okay.
So I'm not exactly sure. I haven't talked to him in a long time, so I don't really know. I know as a deal, we used to be a dealer for his amps here at the Tone Merchants a long time ago, and I know that he's done some repair service for us in the past, but I don't know. I kind of rumored that there was something going on, but I don't know why, to be honest. So.
Okay.
So no, not in my book. I didn't. But in his book, I don't know.
There you go. Yeah, you never know what's going on.
I don't know.
Someone wants to know if your effects loop is tube driven or solid state.
It's a high voltage FET driven effects loop, not tube. More transparent than a tube.
Sinner said he was going to see Seduce in Detroit, but there was a mustache that got in the way. That's funny. I won't even go there.
Yep.
But hey, Sinner, I'll take some video for you. You'll go see him next time. No mustaches allowed.
You guys should catch him at one of their own shows in Detroit. That's the place to catch him. So.
Yeah, he was going to go see him that one night when you guys had that show.
Yeah, if there's a place to see him, it would be on their own show and their own turf. It's pretty good.
That's cool.
Always have been.
Yeah, I never heard of them until you mentioned them, so I have to check it out.
Yeah, it's kind of really strange about that band. I mean, they were the largest rock band in Detroit during the '80s for sure. And I mean, they would. There's a venue there called Harpo's. Harpo's is a pretty reasonably large venue. It's like maybe 1,500 to 2,000 people. Mm-hmm. And they would sell during the '80s. They'd sell that out 2 nights in a row.
Wow.
And
they ever get signed?
Yeah, they were signed to IRS Records, Stuart Copeland's record label. They did a record for IRS Records. they started touring with that, and then the record label sort of imploded. It wasn't really the right record label for the kind of music it was at the time.
Can you still find their album somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, you can actually go on YouTube and actually get both their albums. They had an independent record before that. And the independent record, they liked the independent record more. They thought that the way the producer produced the second record was not really to their liking in the end. He tried to make it a little more 80s music of the time, a little more commercial. And that isn't really where they were at, I don't think. I mean, they're a hard-edged rock band that was, you know, kind of ass-kicking. I mean, to see them live, they're just very ass-kicking. I mean, just from start to finish, it's like it's something to see.
I can't wait.
And Dave Black was that guitar god of that era in Detroit. And it's kind of funny because when Dave comes out and does shows with us and stuff, people come up to, like, we were at Sweetwater, and I swear to God, every single day there was like 6 or 7 people that came up to him and know who he was and know all about the band. It's like the Seduce fans are like this loyal bunch, then they just crawl out of the woodwork. And anywhere he goes, it was interesting. And they were in that movie Decline and Fall of the Western Civilization, so they kind of got a calling card from that.
Oh, really? I saw that movie a really long time ago.
Yeah, they were in that.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'll definitely check out their album. Very cool.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, it's cool stuff. But I think they would agree with me too that I don't think that their live thing was ever captured on record.
Yeah.
What they did live was never really captured on record. And that's what really was the thing.
Right.
So
yeah, that's too bad. But they're still making music. They're still touring, or are they doing new music? Or
they're still they're I don't know what's going to happen with new music or not. We'll see. They might do something. And so they have a bunch of songs that they had from the past that they never recorded. So they've been flirting with the idea of doing that, re-releasing some of the records, and they still play several shows a year now. It seems like that's kind of more on a regular basis now than in the last so many years. So
something might happen.
You know, they'll probably, next year they'll probably. I mean, well, starting next fall, that you'll probably see several shows that'll happen through the course of the year.
Cool. You want to take a few more questions?
Sure. If we got them.
Yeah. Someone says, have either of you guys tried out George's Superplex yet? Thoughts? I have not.
I have not personally tried it out. I mean, I've tried the Metroplex. I've heard George play through the Superplex. It was pretty cool sounding, I thought. But I can't comment because I didn't play through it.
Yeah. I've only seen the videos. I can tell that just based on the videos that it's much more of a JTM 45.
Yeah, it's a little different.
Yeah,
texture.
It's definitely less gain, cleaner, more headroom, kind of a thing. But I have not 10 have not seen it. I can tell you I have the Metroplex, which is definitely a very cool amp. It sounds great. And I can say, Dave, that compared to that Marshall that I have sitting on top of it, it's not even close. Marshall was I should return it. I should just send that thing back or do something with it because now there's no need for it anymore, quite honestly.
Right.
And then once I get the BE, it's like, all right, I'm done. Let's see. All right, so I haven't tried that. Let's see if there's any other questions before we take off.
See, the problem, Mark, with having so many amp builders on your show, that you're going to wind up with an amp from every one of them.
I can't do it. I've got, like I would love to have a VHT or a Fry or what would that Sound City, but I mean, this is only so many that you can. I just, unless I want to be divorced.
You'll need a bigger house.
I need a bigger house or another one. My wife's not going to tolerate too many more $3,000 amps.
Yeah, right.
It's just it can't. Something has to give. But like I said, I think I'm stopping at the BE, or at least I'll tell her that. So I'm just kidding.
You know this is on video, right?
I know. I'm just kidding, honey. She knows I'm kidding. Let's see. I don't think there's any other questions that I saw, so I think we're good. Dave, do you have one tube or more in each of your pedals? I think there's just one tube in each of the pedals.
It's one tube in each of the tube pedals. Yes, correct.
Yeah. So the Fuzz Fiend and the Motor City Overdrive, right?
Yeah, the Fuzz Fiend, the Fuzz Fiend, and the Motor City Drive. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I was looking at. See, I can't do two things at once. I was reading some of the stuff on the chat, and
yeah, we got another question from Tim Pierce. Dave, for your 20-watt amps, what is your tube of choice, and do you use 6V6 tubes?
The 20-watt amps are EL84s. I don't use 6V6. There's something inherent in the 6V6 I don't love for what I do with my overdrive circuit. Not saying that it's not a cool tube. I just don't really like it for what I'm doing. Although I wish I could still. I wish I could use it actually in some respects. The EL84 that we use is a JJ EL84, which is a little bit more bold and a little stiffer and a little less compressed than some other EL84s. And also the only ones that will hold up in our 20-watt amps, because I push the hell out of those tubes and those amps to get the tone that it gets. And if people that have owned those amps go, I can't believe it's an EL84 in it. Well, yeah, it is, but it's so big and sounding and
yeah,
old and loud, and yeah, well, that's hard. I push them pretty hard. Probably harder than I should, to be honest. But
yeah. Now, are they? Is that Can they be biased?
No, it's a cathode biased amp. So no, you just pop in a new set of tubes. Luckily, EL84s are cheap. You can get some spare sets, and if you got a problem, you just pop them in, and you're done. So,
okay, that's cool. Yeah, it was like that. I just swapped the tubes out on my my 5150, the PV 5150 combo. That's fixed bias also.
Well, sort of.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah, it's what they have.
It's not a cathode biased amp. It's fixed, meaning you can't adjust it unless you change the resistor in the amp. But actually, really, that amp needs biasing.
So what do you have to do? You have to take out that resistor and put a.
Well, you can, or you bridge a resistor across it if you need more current, or put a bigger one in if you need less current. But in those amps, you always need more current. Yeah, I mean, it sounds a lot better actually if you bias it properly.
I'm sure it would. Yeah.
Kind of a pain in the butt, but yeah.
Why'd they do it that way? Was it just cheaper that way? From a production perspective?
Yeah, they were running those tubes really cold in those amps,
so they would last.
So they wouldn't have tube problems.
Let's see if there's any other question. Dumb question. Who is Dave? A builder? I don't know who Dave is.
Hey, you know what? Go look at Friedman amps on YouTube, and I think you'll find enough videos to understand what I do.
There you go.
If you don't know.
Yeah.
Well, how do you even know to watch this if you don't know who I am? Or maybe it was Joe Morgan. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not exactly sure. I'm like going, how do you even find this then?
Yeah, I don't know. Because certainly no one's looking up Mark Uzansky. That's for sure.
Well, Wow, look at this. Here's a good one from Lou. Lou Sequoia.
Did you
I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Yeah. Did you guys find that Joe looked a little serial killer? Yes, maybe a little bit. I like that.
Oh, that's bad.
Oh man, that's good.
But he was a super nice guy.
Oh yeah, Joe's great.
Yeah, I think it was just because he was killing people in the video games. That's probably why.
It could be. Yeah. That was it was interesting.
Adam says, "Keep going. Don't wuss out." I'm getting tired, my friend. We're almost going on 3 hours too. Okay, let's see what my wife says. April, hey guys, looking forward to meeting you, Dave, next week. That was nice. There you go.
Oh yeah. All right. We'll meet, and I got my wife with me too.
All right, good. So they can sit and talk.
Sure.
My wife will be drinking because it's her birthday. Dave and Mark, thanks so much for your great show. Looking forward to live NAMM feeds. Yep, we'll be doing that. I'm going to be trying to get a shirt that actually says Tone Talk on it. I've been slacking really badly, and now that I might be able to do that over this weekend.
I gotta wash my clothes to go to NAMM. I'm leaving Saturday night.
There you go.
So
yeah, you got to.
I'm like thinking to myself. Let's see, it's almost 8 o'clock here. I got to go home and wash clothes. Oh God, no! I'll probably do it all literally right before I leave for the airport.
You're leaving tomorrow, literally tomorrow.
I'm leaving tomorrow night with the red-eye flight. So.
Wow. Now, have they already shipped everything that's going to be there for the show? Are you getting an actual? Is it a booth, or are you going to have that sound room too this time?
No sound room, unfortunately. So we'll be playing very quiet. It is a 40 by 10 booth. Mm-hmm. We don't have 40 feet, but in with us, we have us, and we have Synergy amps, Tone King amps, Morgan amps,
Wampler.
A few Bogner pedals will be there, and then Wampler has his little section of it too. So, Yep.
Very cool.
Should be good. We'll be right across the Friedman end of the booth is right across from Kiesel, and the Wampler end of the booth is right across from JHS pedals.
Oh, cool.
So I know a lot of Kiesel artists will probably want to come plug the guitars into the Friedman amps.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah. Your guitars are cool.
Yeah, they look pretty cool. I saw there was a lefty Jason Becker model that I saw the other day that could get me in a lot of trouble too.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of that,
just flash a lefty guitar in front of Mark.
I know. It's a sickness, I swear. And Grover's
Mark, look, a lefty guitar.
I've seen a few that I've actually. There was one that was at a Guitar Center. No, Sam Ash this past week. I was at Sam Ash, and they had. It looked like a Paul Stanley, like mirror body.
Oh
shape.
Yeah.
It was like $300 used, and I picked it up and I held it and I was like, no, I'm not buying. I just walked away. I was like, that'll just be a wall hanger. I'm not gonna.
You could always learn to play, right-handed guitar, upside down and backwards.
Right.
Like Eric Gales does.
Oh, I don't. Him and
Doyle Bramall.
Doyle Bramall, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
When you watch Eric Gale, I was just watching some videos of Eric Gales, who's an amazing guitar player, and he's very interesting in what he does. It's not just the basic blues; it's kind of like a different. I don't know. A client of mine was pointing him out and showing me a few videos. I'm like, man, it's really good. I kind of get it, but watching him play the licks and fret the chords backwards.
It's bizarre.
I can't even contemplate playing left-handed, first off, but then reversing your whole thinking about how your chords and everything. Boy, just forget it.
Yeah, I don't know how.
I can't even.
Yeah, I don't know how these guys.
I guess they just picked the guitar up and they learned that way. You know, that's how it happened. You know.
Yeah, but they when they were trying to teach themselves, they had to invert.
But why did they do that? I mean, what if that point couldn't they have learned it righty then? If you know, I mean, like if you're forcing yourself to play it a different way, then couldn't you learn righty? I know people that have done that too. That are left-handed to play righty.
Yeah, a lot of people.
You know? Yeah,
I don't get it. Yeah, Albert King was the same way.
They just learned to play that way.
They just picked it up and were like, okay, it's upside down. I don't care. I'll learn to play like that.
Yeah,
it's cool stuff.
That's crazy.
Adam EVH, get some Tone Talk T-shirts, Mark, and I'll buy one. Yeah, I'll get some made. No problem. Oh, Doug Rappaport too has good phrasing. Yeah, he's a very unique.
Oh, Doug's
player.
Amazing. Yeah,
yeah, very unique player.
Yeah, another Friedman artist of ours.
Yeah, he doesn't have a signature amp, right? Does he have a signature amp?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm trying to avoid signature amps, but
sorry for the. You're like no.
I'm trying to avoid it, but we'll see how this Neil Sean thing goes.
Is that going to be a signature thing, or is that just going to be? You don't know.
I don't know what it's going to be yet.
Okay.
So we'll see.
I know he has a Nags guitar, right? Doug Rappaport.
Yes, he does have a Nags guitar now. Yep.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, he's a great player.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely unique. Someone said I was thinking Unabomber.
I know, I saw that. Wow.
I didn't get a Ted Kaczynski feel there. I really didn't.
Wow. So we got Serial Killer and Unabomber for Joe Morgan. Wow. Okay.
Joe, I hope you're not watching.
I doubt it. He's having dinner.
Yeah. What's the base start for a signature amp? Well, I think everything you've done has been the BE, has been kind of the base, right?
Yeah, for the signature amps that exist, everything sort of started with the BE, although it kind of did morph into slightly different territories with all of it. And they distinctly sound different. But that's sort of where it started, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, you change 4 or 5 parts, and it sounds, it's a different amp.
Yeah. Let's see. Jaden James says, I'm looking for a used small box 50 if anyone's selling. Is there carbon comps in your amps, Dave? I don't know what that means.
There are no carbon comp resistors in our amps. There used to be one, but it became very unreliable, so we chose not to put it in anymore. Carbon comps you also can't really get in a lot of places in the amp. You can't really get electrical approval on and stuff when we have electrical approval on most of our amps. So yeah. So there you go. Okay. No, and it doesn't really go necessarily with the tone that we're shooting for in the amps. You know, carbon film resistors were widely used in sort of Marshall style amps, and that's what we use in the amps, 1 watt carbon film resistors, except for some little spots where we use some other wire wound resistors and things. So no.
Okay.
If I was trying to do a really traditional Fender amp, I would consider using carbon comp resistors. So that's what a Fender had, but not. The other problem is carbon comp resistors that exist today that are new manufactured carbon comp resistors aren't the same as the old ones. So there are a lot of surplus resistors you can still get from Allen Bradley, but that's going to dry up eventually, and the new ones don't quite sound the same. So there's a more detailed answer than you probably even wanted. So
that's cool. No, that's something new. I didn't even know. Another question here. Hey, Dave, and I certainly have an answer for this for myself. Any tips and procedures on how to change tubes and bias an amp?
Tubes and tips. Well, tips. Well, I mean, you basically have to get yourself. I mean, if you want to mess around, it's high voltage. Okay, so remember this. So I'm not advocating you do this. So it's at your own risk. But frankly, if you get shocked, it probably won't kill you. So don't worry about it. You might not like it very much, though.
It'll hurt.
It kind of hurts. You know what the worst thing is about getting shocked from an amp, like on a bench, and as techs, we do this. We get this routinely because the longer you work on amps, the more careless you become. Yeah, while the amp's on, I can change the part out. Sure. Occasionally, you slip, and it's like, is not so much the shock, but generally your first reaction is to recoil away from the amp. Right. So you just pull your arms back as fast as you can. Well, the fact that you yank your arms back as fast as you can after your shoulders are like, oh God,
Yeah.
It's just the jerk reaction. You actually hurt yourself more with the jerk reaction than you do the actual shock.
Yeah, so. It scares the crap out of you.
Yeah, it's not pleasant. But as far as biasing goes, you got to get yourself ideally, you should get yourself a variac so you can keep your wall voltage at the right voltage. So in other words, you set so if your wall voltage is not 120 volts, which probably isn't, you can either pull it down a little bit to make sure it's 120 volts, or raise it up a bit if it's not. And so you should bias it at 120 volts. If that's what you're going for. You can also, there's a whole nother thing I'm not going to get into right now about biasing it. If you're going to use the variac at like 90 volts or something, you can bias the amp for the amp being at 90 volts. But you can pick up on eBay, you can pick up a bias probe, the cheap one that goes in a meter, and you have to get yourself a multimeter. So you can make sure, so you can measure it. Or there's other bias, different bias meters you can get that have a meter built in. And just turn all your controls at 0 on the amp. You don't need to have a speaker hooked up. Just put everything at 0, no input cable in it. And put them in the sockets, put the tubes in. And if you have a bias probe with a meter, it will automatically read it for you. You'll see what the number is, and you got to know what that is. Generally, EL34's tubes, you're going to, generally speaking, bias it somewhere between 30 and 35 milliamps a tube. 6L6 tubes are more like 35-ish, sometimes up a little higher. 6V6s are, generally speaking, somewhere around 25 milliamps roughly, or 20. Depending, this is all dependent sort of what the voltage is in the amps too, but those are just broad guidelines there.
So I'll say I was successful in biasing the Marshall amp that I have. I tried to do it myself. I got all the things that you just listed. I had the bias probe and the multimeter and everything, and it was fine. I tried to do it on my Splon amp this past weekend or past week, and I screwed it up. And something happened, and no output is coming from the amp anymore. So,
you probably didn't necessarily screw it up. It probably blew a fuse or something.
No, the fuse did blow, and then I got another fuse, and the amp turned on, but no.
Are output. Both fuses good?
I looked at the other fuse, and I couldn't tell whether it was bad or not. So there's probably something wrong with it. I don't know. It was strange. But I guess the point I'm saying is it's not just as easy of like, oh, I'm going to go on the internet and look this up and see.
Yeah. There's more to know.
There's more to know. And as much as I was successful in doing it once, once it started getting a bit more complex, or I couldn't try to diagnose something, I was like, all right, I'm out of my element. So
yeah. It could be even a bad like preamp tube or something in it. So
yeah, who knows? Yeah. So I brought it over to local tech, and they're working on it. So we'll see what happens. It'll cost me more money.
We'll see if they say it's a bad power transformer. Don't believe them if they say that. It's about 99% sure that it's not.
I would be willing to bet
I find that depending on the tech, depending on the so-called tech, I often find that the first thing they go for, I think it's a bad power transformer. I'm like, no, it's not. No way. No.
Well, thanks for that warning. Hopefully he won't tell me that.
Yeah.
The power transformer should be fine on that amp. It's got to be something simple. Oh, the part that I forgot to mention is, remember I showed you that picture of the alignment pin being missing?
Yeah.
So before I texted you, when I put one of the tubes in there, I didn't put it in right. So when
then you blew the fuse. Yeah.
Right. That's what happened. Yeah. And the tube started a red plate.
Yeah. You just had it in cockeye. That's why I was saying make sure it's in right.
Yeah, so that's what happened. So maybe I blew the other fuse, and who the hell knows? But
yeah.
But
someone says, "What do I think about Apex tube matching from CE?" I don't know yet. I might find out shortly, though. I think I've used one set of those or something, and they seem good. We might talk to them about using some of their match tubes in our amps because I continually have horrible problems lately. So we'll see. I don't have an opinion. On paper, it looks like a good deal, but we'll see.
Okay, interesting. I wasn't familiar with that. Apex tube matching.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. You guys were very generous tonight with your time. Thank you very much for the show. A lot of good comments. So I don't see any other questions. So I guess we'll call it a night.
I think that's it.
Yeah. There was one other question, which was, is the Marsha the same as the BE? And I guess the answer was yes, right?
Well, that's where it started. Yeah. Is it exactly the same? Well, I mean, the basic circuit is, sure. The BE channel and the Marsha versus the BE channel. It's basic, but some components have changed over the years.
Yeah. And Pete has one of the first ones.
Pete did have one of the first ones.
Oh, he doesn't have it anymore.
No. Yeah, no.
Gotcha. That's cool. All right, well, guys, we will be back next week. Dave and I will be at NAMM together, so we'll do some Facebook streaming, and hopefully we'll make some announcements on when we'll do that, and then we'll pick up from there where our next show will be. And also, we have podcasts, so if you go to iTunes or any of your favorite podcast streaming services, you can look up Tone-Talk and find us. Okay, and so you can listen in your car or wherever. And
you can listen in your car.
Yeah, anywhere you're at. So I've uploaded all 5 episodes so far. I'll upload this one tomorrow for anybody. And thanks again for watching and for listening in. Dave, thanks for your time, man.
All right, thanks everyone. Yeah, no problem.
All right,
see you guys later.
Have a great night. Enjoy. Talk to you later.